Guys, listen up. Guys, listen up. As you get older, the best way to continue to look young, exuberant, and vibrant is to continue to take care of your skin. That's why I'm excited to have Teej Hanley as a sponsor of today's video. You heard me talk about them before, and you're going to continue to hear me talk about them because I believe in their products and the positive impact that they have on every man's life. Teej Hanley makes taking care of your skin so easy. They provide you with all the products you need and nothing that you don't. Every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. Lapeef family, I must admit, skincare wasn't always something I always focused on, but since I started using this system, I've seen improvements in the way my skin looks and feels. And you don't have to take my word for it. They have over 5,000 five-star reviews on their website from satisfied customers from around the world. I recommend you start with the level 1 system, which comes with all the basics: a daily face wash, an exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer, and a PM moisturizer. In addition to amazing skin, members of Teej Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off retail price, the ability to customize your box, pause or cancel at any time, and free US shipping. And because Teej Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click that first link in the description and you'll get 30% off your first box plus the free gift. Seriously, that's an amazing deal. Even though it's too early, as I often say, it's never too late. Click that link and get started today. Go time. Let's go time. What's going on, family? Welcome to Lapeef-ing Sundays on the greatest network ever, the Lapeef Network. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew for today. We got Sierra, Marcus White, Bruiser, Nick in the Basement, JS Story to Tell, Balance, Paradise Paris, and myself, I'm Lapeef JR. Welcome to Lapeef-ing Sundays on the greatest network ever, the Lapeef Network. What's going on, family? What's going on? How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Be here.
It's
What's
good.
good?
It's good
Another
to be alive.
day.
Good to be alive.
See, you got Boozer up out of church, man. What's
Yeah.
good, man? I ain't see Boozer in a minute. How you been, bro?
Been good, man. Living well.
That's what's up.
All right, Jay, don't start fanning out now. Start fanning out. You know, that's what happened, man. People got to disappear a little bit because if they see you all the time, then they won't miss you. So sometimes you gotta step away a little bit, let them miss you.
All right, let me redo that. Salute, brother. Good to see you.
There you go, man. Well, give him his flowers while you're there, bro. I didn't say just cease all the love, man, but just give him his flowers while you're there. Paradise Paris, it's okay to laugh at some of my jokes. I know you was used to Jay. I tried.
miss you, JR.
Sure you did. I tried to have the same effect that Bruiser did, but it didn't work. The first thing Jay said was, "Bruiser, brother, I ain't seen you in a long time." But when it came to me, it was just me. Anyhow,
Good, JR, man.
Listen, you gotta still
Where you been, fam?
I'm still letting some medication wear off, so I'm kind of groggy.
oh, okay. Well, I mean, it is legal. So some people get it prescribed, and some people.
Legal. It is legal. It was some OTC.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Anyhow, it's good to see you guys. Glad to be alive, as I said before. Glad to be here with you guys. We're back on our earlier schedule. I know it don't work for some folks, but it is football season, so I got to be respectful of football fans. But it's kind of hard because you got church and then you got this, so you may have to go to the earlier service, 8 o'clock, and then you have Lapeef-ing Sundays, and then you can have the rest of your football. So we'll try to balance it out. You know, we're seasonal. We're just like the department stores. You know, you start to see Christmas stuff already. That's how we do. We like to try to pre-plan so we can keep giving you this dose of medication that you're going to receive today. Try to throw a little analogy in there, but guess y'all didn't catch that one. Went right over y'all heads. See what we got in the chat. Welcome to my Green Gang. Trigger Mike, what's going on, brother? Good morning to you. Dale Matthew, Joe Lee. Shout out to all my Green Gang. Hit that link. It's pinned to the top of the chat. If you want to go green, that is the way to go. Shout out to the sponsor, Teach Handling Uncomplicated Skincare for Men. 30% off along with a free gift. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead and click that link and fill the Teach. They have a whole bunch of goodies. I got some beer stuff coming too, man. I got some beer stuff coming. I'm actually testing it out, making sure it's pretty good. Don't judge me today. I woke up and I was unable to get to my steam, but I got a whole little plan I'm putting together for you guys. So hopefully I'll be introducing that within the next couple of weeks. With that being said, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to the greatest network ever, the Lapeef Network, and I look forward to this discussion. Sunday energy is a little bit mild, so if you're looking for something toxic, you probably won't get it here. You know, we do have our spiritual moderator, Balance. You know, she summons a different type of energy on here, and she will accept nothing less. So whenever you guys see Balance on the panel, we are very, very respectful. She's the GOAT here on Lapeef-ing Sundays. So
I like that introduction. Okay, thank you. I'll take that.
Feel free to bless us with your presence.
I'm trying to turn. I'm putting this on the stand. I'm coming right now.
All right. You know, it ain't a show without balance, right? Okay.
Ain't no balance without balance.
The cricket sounds, man. I don't know. Y'all show us some love. Is it my jokes or y'all just weren't really feeling it?
Yeah, nah, you should have said the Sunday show is like a tightly rolled cigar. It's black and mild.
There you go, Jay.
Now, Jay.
It's clear what's going on here. I guess I've been booted off.
Nah,
it's cool, Jay. It's cool.
Switch it back. Man.
Nah, it's good, man. It's cool. Like anyhow, let's go ahead and get the show started. Our first topic of the night. I said the night. I'm still off. Our first topic of this early afternoon for some folks, mid-afternoon for others, and I guess if you're in Europe, maybe late for y'all.
It's morning for me. It's morning for me.
It's morning? Okay. Well, let's go to get it started, man. First topic is, this is what kills communication. This is what kills communication. I think communication is very important, especially here online, but a lot of times in relationships, and relationships don't have to be love, it can be with family. We don't communicate well. So ran across this. I actually got the rest of the videos from this brother as well. But we're going to discuss this is what kills communication, and here's the context for it.
Couple session, she was talking about some of the things that she would like him to improve on. She's very good at noticing when his energy shifts, and she investigates. She wanted him to be able to notice that within her. Before he was able to acknowledge the request, he went into explaining himself that he does recognize him and why he doesn't say anything, and he doesn't want to ruffle her feathers. Noble cause for why he's not saying anything.
I'm gonna start it over from the beginning because I know sometimes it just throws everybody off for a loop. So y'all ready? What he's talking about is the interaction between a man and a woman and how things play out. We've often found ourselves when we having these conversations, and there's a lot of things that's happening, even though we don't realize it's happening. So pay close attention. This is the video for the chat, the viewers, the panel. Let's go.
Couple session, she was talking about some of the things that she would like him to improve on. She's very good at noticing when his energy shifts, and she investigates. She wanted him to be able to notice that within her. Before he was able to acknowledge the request, he went into explaining himself that he does recognize him and why he doesn't say anything, and he doesn't want to ruffle her feathers. Noble cause for why he's not saying anything.
Right.
When you in that masculine approach, all or nothing, right or wrong, and you have a request presented to you that triggers a part of yourself, well, yeah, maybe I did that, but this is why. he started to explain himself through and past the request. Yes, we understand why you're presenting this information, but in this moment, all there is a request from your wife. And when he asks you how you feeling, you may black on him. Do you want him to be able to take that risk? He's like, yes. His perspective was not wrong. It was a different approach, but he got to the point to be able to say, I understand that request. I can honor that. Whatever he had to say about why he wasn't doing that yet, in that moment, it wasn't yet necessary. So a lot of times when you develop this skill set, you'll be able to hear your partner a lot better. It correlated to when Candace let me know how she wants her apologies. It may be a lot of other nuances involved that you would like to express. But in the moment when you say sorry, let me just allow myself to receive that. Give that apology space and time to like really bloom into my system. So if 2 days later, you do want to revisit those nuances, you do want to express that, now I got this buffer of the fact that you really let my apology breathe.
Let's go ahead and dive into it. This is what kills communication. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start off with you, Marcus. What did you think about that, brother?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. A lot of times it sounded like what was occurring was he was defensive before he had a chance to fully get to the root of what she was trying to communicate with him effectively. And I think people do that a lot, right? Because nobody wants to be the bad guy or feel misheard or misrepresented or misunderstood. So a lot of times as a defense mechanism, when somebody will bring something to you, you try and explain before they get through the full complaint, because you want to relieve yourself of the guilt or of the burden of being the one responsible for hurting them. And in other instances, you might be trying to fix it in real time and let them know this is what was preventing it. But it makes perfect sense. You have to create a space, and everything can be done at the same time. Sometimes you gotta let it breathe.
All right. I'm gonna go to you, Sarah. What are your thoughts about it? This is what kills communication.
I guess I hear an echo my end. Do you guys hear it?
It's not bad. It's not bad. You better get through it. If you want to troubleshoot it, you can. I can come back to you.
Okay. Well, I would say communication is extremely important in a relationship, but what I've noticed a lot of times, and women won't like this, but we're selfish. We want men to kind of guess what we're going through or what's happening in our minds. And it's not just a women thing. I've seen some men, doing this, but it's most commonly on women. And I think it's learning how to express ourselves, and also don't just let it out because you're emotional or angry. Like, think about the things, try empathy, be empathetic and think like, hey, if I was on the other person, that's something that works for me when I want to say, like, I don't immediately say something. It's not just with my partner, my husband, but also with my sisters, with my family, with my brothers, with my daughter, like with anyone that you want to have good communication with. Because if you don't want to misunderstood, then think about your words, because it's part of the communication. So it's just people not communicating nowadays. That's the way I see it.
Go ahead, Paradise. Your thoughts about it, man. This is what kills communication.
Marcus was absolutely right. In the course of the video, I don't think people were actually grasping that it wasn't the woman who needed to be accountable for her actions, but because we're so engraved to think that it's women who are the problem, we didn't hear him say she investigates the issue. We didn't hear him say that she actually, takes the time to listen to him. It was him who was already on the defense. It was him who was already feeling the need to shut down before she even said anything. So in that particular video, he was basically saying, like, she's there, she's present, she's listening, she's taking the time to watch his behaviors and his mannerisms, and she's trying to address that particular issue. But it sounds as if that whomever that gentleman was, that even in therapy, he went to explaining not only to just let himself off the hook, but he knew what his issues was, and he chose to feel like that should have been a good enough excuse for her to also understand why he's giving her the response that he's given, when she's saying, you already know that this is the issue with you. acknowledge it and correct it. But instead of him doing that, the response was, well, I'm this way because, and it's like, I understand why you are that way, but that doesn't give you permission to be that way continuously once you have acknowledged. You have to learn to work and grow towards and try to change it, right? And so, in regards to communication, to be honest, everybody has never communicated effectively. Not women, not men. Things just happen to work because life get hard, right? And so we find our way on an even plateau. However, everybody knows how to communicate. People don't know how to meet others where they learn to communicate. And in this particular conversation, that's what was happening. He was refusing to meet her where he knows how to communicate with her. He was more so making it harder because he wanted her to meet him where he was communicating, but his communication style wasn't progressive to their relationship.
I got a question, Paradise. So I understand the meeting part, right? Who meets who? If somebody comes to you and says something, should you? Because what it sounds like is when you communicate, you have to sacrifice. Somebody has to sacrifice. If not, both people have to sacrifice. Doing the back and forth, right? So if somebody brings something to you, like, what if they're wrong about how they analyze the situation or about whatever the problem is? Like, what if it is wrong, or what if it's not the way that it seems? And she may come and say, hey, why did you do this? You did this because of that. And he's trying to explain himself. Should he just wait? How should that go?
You talk about what Sarah just said, where women make stuff up in their mind. It happens all the time, right? Where she's like, I seen him doing this, and I feel like he's doing this because of X, Y, and Z reason, but he hasn't said anything. And in those situations, I personally think that in the event that that person is assessing you wrong, in this particular scenario, JR, what you're saying is it's a woman assessing a man wrong. If that woman is assessing the man wrong, it takes, to me, what should be happening is it takes, if he wants the relationship to work, he should sit down and make her see him. And what I mean by that is like an actual sit down, no distraction, and tell her, you feel this way, but I'm telling you, this is what this is. I understand what you're feeling, but your feelings are invalid for the situation. Although I understand what you feel, that does not represent who I am. And I think a lot of times with women, if the feelings merge into the action, then that for her solidifies it. But he hasn't said anything. So you can't say you're such a great communicator, but you're denouncing every time he attempts to communicate with you. At that point, it takes two people to communicate. You're not doing much justice at all. So yes, at that point, a woman should be compromising. And I do think he should work at it. Like, you just can't quit or get frustrated. If that's the case, then you won't have no relationship at all. And you should leave that woman alone. You can't stop if you want to be with her.
All right. Go ahead, brother Bruiser. What are your thoughts about it? This is what kills communication.
So what everybody said was pretty good. I might just want to go a little layer so it won't be an echo. But I think it kills it. First of all, I believe men, we can be too quick to move on because we're more logical thinkers, and we just want to acknowledge and then move on. We don't really want to go a layer deep and try to figure out, how did it get there, or how you feeling, and try to get emotionally in tune with frustrated. Women, on the other hand, they want things to settle in before moving on. They want to resonate with you. They want you to feel it and actually be more sensitive. But from my experience, men are having issues accepting the request to fix it because women. First of all, women have a tendency to nitpick every single issue going on in a relationship, and they get very emotional and they try to hold on to it until it's fixed. Men, we don't nitpick. We focus on the issues that hinder the end goal, and when we don't get that, you can communicate with us all you want. If we see that you're not trying hard or trying to fit in the system to where we can reach our goals as a family, as a whole. And we tend to just blow off your little individual emotional issues whenever we have small challenges or encounters. I mean, I've personally done that. If, for example, if I could paint a picture, if I have some financial goals that I want to reach, I've had relationships where I had financial goals or accomplishments I wanted to reach within the relationship. And it's just simple things I ask for and they don't get mad. And I'm like, okay, fine, cool. But then she'll want small little issues and she want me to entertain emotions. And I'm like, it's a trade-off. You know what I mean? It's like we can't even get the most important shit done between each other. You got all these little small issues. I'll fix it every moment, but I'm not really trying to give it any energy because I don't see you reciprocating the things that I feel like is most important for us to reach our goals. So the smaller things become even more smaller to me as we keep surpassing the things that's necessary to reach our end goal together as a family. And I think a lot of men may be able to resonate with that because we're seeing way past the little stuff. But if we able to get to our goals, then we have the time to focus on these little things that's just causing this emotional toll on this woman. And we'll be able to serve her request to fix the issues and actually, take a deeper dive to, being more sensitive to her emotions.
Okay. Go ahead, Balance. What are your thoughts about it? This is what kills communication.
I didn't hear the whole video, so I'm gonna pass on this one.
Okay, I'll send it to you, so you can take a look at it. Go ahead, Brother Hank.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody speaking, but I don't agree with half the shit they talking about. So the man she talking about came from a single mother. He learned how to operate and move like a woman. You want to know what kills communication? It's when you got a man who acts like a woman, who's raised by a woman, who thinks and operates like a female. So now you got two women going at each other. That's what's going to kill the communication. So one of the women's got to be more dominant than the other. Because they really can't get along. Even though he got a penis, he still's acting, moving, and carries himself like a woman. Another thing is when the woman who's supposed to be a woman is talking down to the man because she has very little to no respect for that man. So she's going to treat him like a child. Now, you want us to be sensitive to your needs and how we communicate with you, but you're not willing to give that same sensitivity when that man needs the opportunity to communicate himself. So then you get mad when he walks away. Why does he walk away? Because he doesn't want to continue the conversation. Because he realizes it's not going anywhere. It's obvious. Because she's talking down to me. I already addressed her. Don't be disrespectful in how you communicate with me and talk to me and share with me. I have no problem with making these adjustments. I said it last week. Men will make adjustments. Men will adapt. Most of the time, women don't like to make them adjustments. Because when you ask them to make those type of adjustments, feel like you're trying to control them. And most of these ladies don't like to feel like they're being controlled. So that's what's going to kill a communication.
All right. Go ahead, Miss Nicole. What are your thoughts about it, man?
Happy Sunday. Hey, Lapeef. So the parts that I heard bits and pieces while I was trying to hurry up and finalize, get my set ready. What I will say is everybody had some really good points to add. And so I will just add my point as being this. When you have people who were raised by one parent and could possibly have lacked some nurturing, right? The communication, growing up and not seeing the masculine and the feminine in the family, in the home life, coexisting and demonstrating how to cooperate and communicate, it's very difficult to translate that into adult life. So what am I saying? You have a man and a woman. If we're talking about the Black community, we have a man and a woman, probably 90% chance they were raised by a single mother. So they did not see that, right? So they're both fighting to be heard. They're both fighting to be understood. He's trying to be understood. Can you see it my way? She's trying to have her feelings validated and be heard, and they're talking at each other. And this is what happens primarily with a lot of Black relationships. Everybody's talking at each other, and the love could be there the whole time, but they just cannot seem to get on the same page in terms of communication. So this is really, really difficult. What I will say is this: once you reach 21, we can't say, well, I was raised by a single mother, so that's why I cannot show up in my relationships 100% like a good companion. And that goes for men and women. Once you reach a certain age, you're having sex, you're having children, you working a job, you're going to school. We can't continue to blame mama and daddy for what we lack going into relationships. That's just simple as that. Accountability on all fronts. Get therapy, talk to God, yoga, read the Bible, do what you have to do to get up to par in terms of being a good communicator and ultimately a good companion.
Can I ask her a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt nobody who didn't go yet.
I got a question, but
She said once you reach the age of 21, you pretty much don't got no excuses to blame on or your trauma on or your mishaps on the fact that you came from a single mom. And you also stated that it was simple as that. And I would argue that I don't agree first, and I don't agree that it's just as simple as that. I don't think the age 21 is a significant factor in whether or not you can blame or accept responsibility. I think accepting responsibility, it's going to take you to go to therapy. You could be 35, 40. Until you go to therapy, people are going to blame. People are going to use it. And it's important to understand why these people are still using their excuses or their trauma as a way to hinder it. Because I'm telling you, these therapists have they're very professional. They have a really good way of helping you get past these humps. And until they go see a therapist, then they're gonna always use that as an excuse, and they will never take responsibility. It's not necessarily based on the age of 21. That's just my 2 cents on that.
Well, I use the age 21 because that's when the government recognizes you as a full-blown adult. Like you can drink, like nothing's kept from you legally at 21. I mean,
so once you can drink alcohol,
Hold on.
You can't blame your parents.
Hold on, Bruce. Let her finish.
Yeah, no, I understand what he's saying. I'm just using it as an age because if we don't set an age at what time, what I'm saying is that's not the cutoff when you can stop feeling pain. It's not the cutoff when you can't still feel traumatized, when you can't feel triggered. That stuff will probably be with you to the end of your days. What therapy, what God, what all of these things help you do is get to a point where you can coexist in this planet with other people without hurting other people, so that you can become a good companion, so you can handle adversity, so you can be a good leader, be a good father, be a good husband, be a good wife, be a good mother, be feminine, masculine, and all those things that we like to see in other adults. You get to be that when you say, you know what, I have to face what I went through. It was tough. And this is for everybody, not just people that grew up in single parents. This is for everybody to say, you know what, I went through a tough time, and let me pause and deal with that part of my life so that I can show up as my best self. That's just being the best person you can be. And at some point, we got to stop blaming mom and dad and say, you know what, that happened, that was messed up. That's probably going to always be a demon in my closet or something. But you know what? I got to get over that. I'm a victorious person, that I'm not going to be a victim forever. And people want to partner with confident, victorious people. We want them around us. We want to do business with them. We want victorious people around. We don't want victims around, because what do they bring? It's like a dark cloud over them. And they're like, oh, they bring down the energy. They show up in relationships like me. They sap everybody's joy and energy. Do we want to be that type of person? Or do we want to say, you know what? That happened to me, but it didn't get me down. It happened to me, but you know what? Here I am. When I saw Kirk Franklin went through everything, it explained a lot of what he was dealing with. It explained a lot of the things that we've seen play out with him as a man. And you know what? It put everything in perspective. But you know what? It did not let him down. with him, God was his outlet. God was his anchor. And what I'm telling Black people is, at some point, we got to find an anchor and say, you know what? I refuse to die. I refuse to let this kill me. That's all I'm saying.
Go ahead, Paris. You want a question?
I had a question, but she actually brought it into the conversation. I don't believe that you need therapy in order to recognize something that's wrong with you and work to navigate, move past it. I feel like, and this is as a person who's currently in therapy. I see my therapist often. Self-awareness is a thing, and you may get that self-actualization at any point in life. I feel like a lot of times we try to place a lot of burdens on adults and forget that there are some mentally advanced children who are in their teenage years right there. Life has put them in position to where they catapult above some adults that you know. The same way we know that there are some 50-year-old women who are still walking around trying to relive their glories, and some 50-year-old men who are still talking about their high school highlights, right? Mentally, some people are just in different places. And I feel like when we talk about our parents and we talk about single parent households and we talk about therapy, we're now utilizing tools that provides us a crutch to keep us as victims. And Michelle hit it on the head. I don't necessarily agree with everybody taking these different tools, right? Not saying that they don't need these tools, but I don't think that these tools should be used as a catalyst to continuously give people an excuse to be a shitty individual. If you know you were pregnant for only 9 months and you had that baby at 5 years old, you should not still be talking about I got baby weight. The same way, if a man knows that he lost his car and then 2 years later him losing his car is not a reason for him to say he can't get another job because he don't have a car. Do y'all follow these analogies? Because if you follow these analogies, then that should be the direct correlation in showing you, just because I grew up in a two-parent household, in a one-parent household, and I was raised by a single mother, does not mean I cannot own who I am. That does not mean that limits my conversational ability. That does not mean that it prohibits me from being a better partner and looking forward to the future to be a greater parent than my parent was. I can be better than my circumstance. I can be greater than my situation. But when we start interminting all of these other catalysts to say, well, they need therapy, they need somebody to help them, they need somebody to pray for them, they need somebody to do this, what you're doing is taking the responsibility away from the individual. Because even after therapy, once that session over, you got to get your ass up and go outside and still do the work.
Well, let me say this. First of all, to Miss Nicole, for the sake of accountability, well, I fundamentally believe, because I was brought up in some of these conditions and I was able to get through it. I fundamentally believe what you do or expose to your children can be a permanent stain on their life forever, depending on the significance of what you do and what you put them through as a kid. So for the sake of accountability, I don't want nobody listening to think or misunderstand that, oh, once I reach 21, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? That's that threshold I'm going to pass to where I can never look at my mom. Nah, I have to take accountability for that. Secondly, when I talk about therapy, and I think we might need to go a little layer because we're getting a little bit confused. You could say that it's subjective, and in your experience, because you've been in there, it doesn't necessarily work. It works for a lot of people, and it's you could look at it similarly, like going to the gym. You're overweight, you're fat. Some people may say, "Oh, you're going to the gym." That, in my experience, it didn't work for me. That's why I'm 300 pounds. But you still have to go and do the damn work. You still have to follow the steps. You still got to be receptive to what you're getting. So when you said you still got to get up and go and work, you're damn right. You get what I'm saying? It's an open door so you can get the advice you need, so you can be able to process your thoughts, your feelings, and be able to get over this anxiety, the depression, all of the things that could have been traumatic in your life. It takes you to be receptive. You can sit and listen to a therapist all day. Unless you put in the work and be receptive, yeah, it's going to be a subjective state. Yeah, you're going to say, yeah, my experience, it doesn't work. So it ain't going to work for everybody else. We don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You got to put in the work. And that's my 2 cents on that.
I gotta correct you. I never said that therapy did not work for me. This is my second time in therapy. I said I'm currently going. I avidly enjoy my current therapist, and I feel like it has been progressive for me. My point was, even after therapy, and you reiterated it, you still have to get up and go do the work. Nobody can tell me going to the gym does not work, especially if they continuously have a shitty diet or they only did it for 1 month. You don't see changes in a month, which is the same reason why you spending 18 years under your mama household as a single parent, and then you turn it around and you going through three relationships as an adult, and you're telling me that this has worked for you, does not mean that you are actually self-aware. That was my point. You can go through a lot of different things in life, but when you start finding things to excuse your behavior, such as, well, black people need therapy, such as, well, they grew up in a single parent household, such as, well, I had a baby, so now I can't lose weight, such as, well, I ain't got no car, so that's stopping me from going to get a job. When you finding ways to misplace the blame, these are things that stop you from being a better individual. These are things that prohibit you from being able to have a better conversational piece, and it stops you from taking accountability. Because again, I know very mature teenagers who have been catapulted into situations due to just life. The same way that I know very immature adults who want to look like they're still a teenager, who want to act like they're still a teenager, who out at the club every weekend, who out doing things that are not progressive to them as an individual. So we can't use age, which omits Miss Nicole 21 factor, and we cannot use therapy as reasons as to why people ain't got their shit together. People ain't got their shit together because they don't want to.
Okay,
Can I
hold
say
that
something real quick?
hold that thought. I want to get Balance in and Jay because they haven't spoke on the topic, and then we'll come back around and we'll go back to Marcus and Sayer. Okay, go ahead, Balance.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I just want to add on to what you guys are saying. I think, Paris, I understand what you're saying, but people, you can't expect people to change if they don't have the tools to change. It just doesn't work that way. You can't say, oh, because you're old enough and now you've been through life, you should be able to just do it if you want to. People need the tools to change, and therapy is a great way to get the tools. The therapist doesn't do the work for you. They provide you with the tools to better yourself. That's how you do it. And I think that's with anything that you want to be very good in and do better in. You got to go get the tools from whoever is, a pro in that field. But really, that's all I have to add with that.
All right, go ahead, Jay. We can't hear you. You're on mute.
A lot was said. I want to start back with Marcus. Main thing he said is you got to let it breathe. And this is in regards to the video. I'm speaking specifically in regards to the video when he said you have to let it breathe. Because I feel like communication is affected by resentment. In relationships, small little bouts of resentment build. And if it's not addressed, it just continues to snowball into something bigger. And you hold it in. And what it sounds like that guy did when, I guess they went at a therapist and the person was explaining himself, it sounds like he harbored some things. So, therapy can play a part in that. Whereas if he acquired the tools to, when he's feeling this big ball of resentment in his chest that he wants to explain, because I mean, like a lot of us, there's that time in a relationship where you like, yo, how am I going to say this, yo? You know what I'm saying? If I say what I'm feeling, like this is going to be like pulling a pin out of a grenade. I know she's not going to take this well. I know she's going to flip out, but if you sit with it, it's just going to build and build and it's going to explode. You know what I mean? And explode is relative to who you are. One person's explode could be storming out the house. Another person's explode could be jail. You know what I mean? So you have to figure that out. But I think definitely being given the tools to get what you're feeling out is very important. Because communication in my experience my communication has been hindered by not knowing how to articulate what's inside.
I like that, Jay. Go ahead, Marcus. I know you wanted to say something, then we'll go to Sarah.
No, to balancing Jay point about the tools, like that's an excellent point. Like as a tangible step, right? Some of the things you can do, like to speaking to the point of letting it breathe, is literally like counting to 15 after somebody say something. If it's really, really a contentious conversation, because you have to let that person. There's two things that happen when you do that. You give yourself a chance to gather your thoughts, and the second thing is you let that person feel heard. Somebody feeling heard can de-escalate a situation. Like it could cut the tension in half just by acknowledging, even if you don't agree, just hearing them is enough sometimes to de-escalate a situation. And then there's phrases you can use like, okay, I can see how you could feel that way. However, and then you can validate it without saying that it's actually true, but they feel that way. So their feeling is true, but what they're trying to convey may not actually be rooted in reality. So it's tangible ways that you can go about this, but it requires some patience, and you have to have the desire to not want to hurt the person, get back at them, get revenge, or listen to respond. You really got to listen to try and interpret and see where you guys can meet at. Like I know y'all talked about, are you going down or up to meet the person? In my general philosophy on life, if we're speaking on relationships and men are the purported leaders of the relationship, it's gonna be on us to find a level that we can find correspondence at. And when we reach that level, then we can build upon that to whatever level you want to go to. But we do need the tools necessary in order to do that in a way that does not create more resentment and more contention, right? So yeah.
Real quick, and I want to know if y'all noticed this as well. But what I'm noticing, the way that some people in relationships deal with each other, it's like there's no respect. Like I'm noticing there's a lot of relationships out here that exist where there is no respect there. We thinking that that's something that automatically comes along with being with somebody, but nowadays I'm like, yo, there's no way this person can respect you if they're doing this, and if respect is not there, none of this other stuff matters.
I agree, but I like I said, I stand firm in people having self awareness is the catalyst to them not wanting to do something. If you can find an excuse for your behavior, you are avidly choosing to not do it.
Can I add?
Yeah, let me just say this real quick, and I think that plays to what Jay says too, because there are some people that are self-aware and know they're doing it, but they don't respect the individual, so that's the reason why they're doing it. So I think everybody is hitting on all cylinders. Let's make sure we try to put it all together because there's a lot of truth in what's being said right now. Go ahead, Sarah.
So, everybody has good points, but I think we're looking at it from our circumstances. For those who are highly self-aware, can interpret actions, feelings, and thoughts objectively. But this is a rare skill. It is a skill that you have to learn and you have to develop it by practicing. So who tells you that you have to be self-aware? Because paradise is a great point. Yes, but not everybody has the skill. We're not born with that. We have to learn how to be self-aware. And who tells you to be, or who teaches you that? If he's not at home, then you can be and seek for professional help. And then, for those that, we don't go to therapy, if we don't, or, people out there that don't go to therapy, they usually go through this spiral, emotional driven interpretation of their circumstances. So that's pretty much what happens, that we're looking at it from where we at. So paradise, because you're self-aware now, you're looking at it from an advanced point of view. But we have to be empathetic enough with the others that don't have the skills. So you have to develop those skills. You have to let people know, hey, what if this and this and that? Because again, I agree with Nicole that she brought up the therapist. You seek for therapy because you want help, and they are not going to tell you what to do, but they're going to give you the tools and resources and the skills. They're going to develop the skills so you can actually learn the self-awareness that you say that you have now.
Okay. All right. I want to go ahead. I want to go ahead and kind of finish this off with
I
When
got
Nicole,
one thing to say if I
all
can,
right,
but if not, you can move on.
no. I was coming to y'all with Nicole, Bruiser, and Hink because I know they haven't spoke a lot of balance too. So let's go ahead and close it out with them, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Go ahead, Nicole, then Bruiser, and we'll come to Hink and balance.
Oh, really quick. Yeah, Sarah hit it on a point with combining Paris and Sarah. What they said was basically, succinctly, when you know you want a relationship, when you're old enough to realize you want a companionship and you want a relationship to last, there are tools that you need to have to be able to give to the other person as opposed to just taking. So that means you need to see, you're at an age, whatever age that is, you need to seek someone who can give you those tools to show up as your best self. We do that with work. We do that with college prep, law prep, medical school prep, driver's license school. We do this. We understand preparation, except when it comes to relationships. The other person is just supposed to understand. That's not fair. So,
Go ahead, Bruiser.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo, what was said. Saida said, just going to go seek help, and I also wanted to respond to something Paris was emphasizing, the excuses. And the person on it that's listening to the people that's making excuses or complaint or telling them, hey, look, this is why this is not happening for me, because I have a single mom or I have this condition. And what I think people listening tend to do is just look at, what was said alone, and they're not really going to layer deep. So, I mean, you could say you was raised by a single mom. What did your single mom expose you to? Was it drugs, abuse? There's layers deep that a therapist can go to. And what they do is what people do naturally is just tell you the secret. They tell you the secret. They tell you what you can do. But a therapist can actually provide a way you can implement the things that you can do. A lot of people struggle with, a lot of people make excuses because, they know what to do. They know they're supposed to be doing right, but they don't actually have the ability to implement the thing. So that's where a professional or expert come in, and they actually guide you and show you steps you can take. So it's important to be able to look past just the surface. So when people are stating their problems, you've got to know that, hey, look, man, there might be something deeper going on. Because if you take 5 people and all 5 people say, hey, look, the reason why this is happening because I was raised with no parents in the home, I guarantee you every person, all 5 of those people is going to have a different story behind why they didn't have their parents. It's not going to be the same. And you got to treat every individual with that isolated or sensitivity, a level of sensitivity. Because you don't know. What we tend to do is paint everybody with the same paintbrush. Oh, all y'all made think about that's an excuse. No, but what is each individual's issue? Somebody may have been sexually abused, or that might have something to do with their sexuality. It's a range of things that it can affect. So it's not like making the responsibility comes in whenever you take the advice, whenever you take the steps to get over the hump. That's where the responsibility comes in. And I think that's just what we need to be more aware
of. Before we go to Hink, I just want to say this. I appreciate everyone's perspective, but mostly how everyone are. I like when people are strong, when they don't make any excuses, when they just have no nonsense. It's like we need those type of people because those people do motivate people that may not have the strength. So I just want to kind of keep that in mind. All this information is good. When Paris say and you hear Michelle say, we don't want any victims. I'm cool with somebody putting that out there because if we didn't have that out there, then we'll probably have a lot more people with the victim mentality. So, but some people may need a little bit more tools. Sometimes all it takes is just somebody saying that or them being an example. And it's like, damn, like I never looked at it that way. Look how they move. They've gone through this and they don't make any excuses in life. So let's just kind of keep that in mind. There's different strokes for different folks.
I'd say we at our peak of victim mentality. I don't think it'll make a difference.
Okay. Go ahead, Hank.
Well, we also got to remember when you're in these situations and the shit gets heated, you're going to go to your default. So everything y'all talk about doing, that's nice and all fine and dandy, but you're going to go to your default. And what's your default? However you learn and whatever you was used to, however you seen your mom talk to your father, or if he was even around, or just learn how your mom engaged with other individuals in a harsh manner, you're going to learn it from that. You're going to fall to your default. Unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. Now, hopefully, you can, in the midst of that conversation, you can bounce back and regain your composure. Or, like I said, take a step away from the situation, you know what I'm saying, and gather yourself and compose yourself in a proper way. But more than likely, most of us going to fall for our default. And it's just unfortunate. Again, when we talk about communication, if you're to that point right there, hopefully you're not married to this woman and she's still doing that. Then sir, that's your fault. If you marry this woman knowing she still don't know how to communicate with you like that, that's a problem. You never should have proposed to the heifer, because that should have been dealt with during the courting stage. We should address these type of situations during the court. I'm sure during the court stage we had some type of disagreement on something. We didn't agree on everything until we got married. Then I said I do, and all of a sudden we started fighting. No, if you've seen it, go on then, address it then, settle it then, work on it then, get therapy, couples therapy, whatever you need to do to get it right. Work on it then before you get to that stage of I'm married to you and still dealing with this. So now we can fall back home. Look, I know we talked about this before. We dealt before. Let's go back to our therapist, our premarital counselor told us. Let's use those steps and remind each other of that.
I just want to put this out there too, Hank, and I 100% agree with you and acknowledge what you're saying. There are some times where these things are not present before. Sometimes couples go through things and they're already married and they have to navigate it from that point moving forward. So then that's when you have to like assess it a little bit differently, where they couldn't vet it. I mean, you can ask somebody, how do you handle conflict? And they tell you, but then once y'all actually really have a serious conflict after that honeymoon stage, after everything been going kosher, then you hit with something different. That's why people say when you wake up every day, you choose to be here. You choose to go through the ups and downs and the pros and cons, the positives and negatives throughout the relationship. So sometimes you're presented with that, not on the front end, and you got to understand what it entails moving forward. So it's not to disagree with what you're saying, but I just wanted to kind of add that for people to keep in mind that's watching, and also the people on the panel. Go ahead, Ms. Ballard.
Yeah, I could agree with that, but she also is going to show you signs. It don't have to necessarily be you that she got into an argument or disagreement with. It could be her sister, her friend, her mother. Watch how she acts and interacts and communicate with that woman, and pay attention. Because guess what? More than likely, that shit could be you. Don't think you above that.
I can't disagree with that either, Hank, because that does happen where you see it play out. Also, too, a lot of people are afraid to talk about the previous relationships they've been in. You can find out a lot there as well. That's something that Kelly actually highlighted. You know, she's always wants to ask questions about previous relationships, and her reasoning is because you can tell a lot based on how that person was navigating through those relationships. It's always two sides to the story, so I'm pretty sure if you ever talk to someone's ex, you'll probably get a different version of that. But you can only go with what's in front of you. Look at everything that Hank is saying, ask them questions, and then look into what happened in their previous relationships, and then you can try to compile it all together and see what you come up with. See if it's a good mix, for good candidate for marriage. Go ahead, close this out on this balance.
And I think we underestimate that premarital counseling, or do a premarital course, which is what I did. And it was 6 weeks long. So we were really getting in depth about everything about us for 6 weeks. And at the end, you make the decision if you guys think that you should still move forward during marriage, but they also will give you their opinion on if you're a good fit. And in my experience, the woman was like, you know what? I just don't think he's ready to move into marriage because he has to work on this, and this. So once I heard that, it's up to me to make that decision to say, do I want to move forward with this or not? But a lot of people are just skipping all these steps, and they're basing it on looks and what makes sense, what's convenient, what's comfortable, getting financial support, all the things that have nothing to do with if you can maintain a long-term relationship. So we got to stop skipping steps. And that's what I think people are doing. They're just jumping into things that they don't last past 2 years. So that's my advice. I'm done with it.
All right. Great discussion, folks. If you guys just tuned in, welcome to Lapeef-ing Sunday. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Again, shout out to the sponsor, T Channel Uncomplicated Skincare for Men. Let me start off along the free gift. That link is in the description. Go ahead and click that link. Shout out to all my Green Gang that's in the chat, man. I see you guys are rocking heavy. If you want to become part of Green Gang, that link is pinned to the top of the chat. We got just for 4 cents, $2. Investigate a code word for nagging the male. Marcus Evans, $2 says, what up, everyone? Talk to him, Bruiser. Marcus Evans again says, brother Hing is 100% correct. And Marcus Evans says, talk that ish pair. Salute to you, Marcus Evans, for those donations and everybody that has contributed. Just hit the like button. That's all that we require over here. Hit the like button. That'd be good enough. Also, share the stream, man. If you guys enjoyed it, share it to somebody, because we got a couple more topics that we're going to dive into, and I predict that it's going to be a good one. So here we go. Moving on to our next topic is with long-term. Why long-term love is so hard to come by. Why long-term love is so hard to come by. Go ahead and play this clip.
Clarence, 70 years of marriage, had to lay his wife down.
Yes.
What have you learned witnessing him have to do that, and any thoughts you may have had, and being able to let?
I got to say this. I'm now playing a video for the people that's in the chat and the people that's on the panel. So let's make sure we pay attention to it, so we can discuss it. Sometimes I start staring at stuff too as well, so let's go ahead and pay attention, folks.
Your Uncle Clarence, 70 years of marriage, had to lay his wife down.
Yes.
What have you learned witnessing him have to do that, and any thoughts you may have had, and being able to let go of that level of love to that degree?
That's a perfect example of what I think love is. It made me realize that I only love when things were okay. There were situations where our love required forgiveness, patience. I was not willing to do that work. I have that Uncle Clarence sort of love. I never lived with a woman. It taught me so much about myself. When you have a person that lives with you, it's a mirror. And I didn't really like some of the things that I was seeing. I always thought I wanted to be a husband until I realized what that entailed. It showed me everything I needed to work on in my manhood. It showed me what I was really asking for when I was praying for a wife. Uncle Clarence, over the years, man, like, y'all must have been through some shit. He was like, man, the only thing we didn't do was leave.
Wow.
Now I understand the assignment. The time I was in a relationship, it was fidelity, right? It was short term. So you really can't wait that. It was just romance, infatuation. Once we realize that we're regular, we just go our separate ways. To be around a woman who's not pleased with me, supposed to argue right now, and you're still supposed to sleep here tonight?
Right.
That's crazy. It's not about who comes, it's about who never leaves.
All right. Why long-term love is so hard to come by. Why long-term love is so hard to come by. We'll go ahead and start with you first, Bruce. What are your thoughts about it, sir?
I fundamentally think that it's people tend to get in relationships and date while they're at their breaking point. And a breaking point is a place where you get to where you really have a low tolerance. So it becomes really difficult for you to overcome challenging situations or interactions or issues whenever you and your partner have disagreements. And the key is to try to, before you get into a relationship or make it official, or even when you're vetting, is to try to get back to a place where you can have grace and give the person you're dealing with what they call a benefit of the doubt. Give them grace. You know, you got to free up the ability to have more tolerance, because a lot of people have traumatic experiences and in previous relationships, and they tend to bleed on future relationships, and it makes them be so quickly to acting off impulse, because they're starting to recognize and see, oh, this is a pattern, this is a behavior that I've once visited. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to do that again. So they cut it short. Relationships don't even last long. So some people continue on, and it's an incompatibility issue at that point. So now you're just dragging a partner along, and you're waiting on you to get your stability, individual stability within that relationship, financially, sometimes emotionally. And then once you get that and you quit, it's over. Or you find an exit, you find a reason to leave, and you go and start dating again. And possibly more often than not, the same thing can happen again until you actually free up a way to get yourself back to where you can have either have tolerance or full tolerance. And that's what I teach a lot of females whenever I'm talking to them. It's to recognize your red flags, understand your red flags and your deal breakers, and try to weigh them. And like, does this make sense? Talk to somebody who's in a relationship that you can trust, that's in a stable relationship, and that can look at it and be like, okay, these are valid deal breakers. Or they might say, oh, man, we do that. We deal with this all the time. This is how we cope with these things. This is how we get through it. You might not want to just cut your relationship off. Or this guy might not be doing the same thing. It may appear that he's the same as this previous guy, but just give it some time, talk it through, and you might be able to get through it.
All right, go ahead, Balance. What are your thoughts about it, man?
I'm glad he was in that clip, because I think a lot of people are always saying, oh, I want a wife, but they never say, oh, I want to be a husband. So I think he's being honest with himself. I didn't agree with actually living with someone until you're married or engaged. I don't believe in that. But I will say, back to when I had my little 6-week course, they made us do credit checks, STD checks, criminal background checks. And when I say it was intense, we had to go through very intense things. And at the end, you have to bring your parents. Both people bring your parents. You get their opinions on everything. So it was very intense. People don't do those steps. And I think a lot of things that happen that break down later in a marriage is because people skip these steps. I didn't know you're a felon. I didn't know whatever it is, you had this STD, whatever it is, all of these things that could have been avoided in the beginning. I didn't know you were this bad with credit. It could have been avoided, but you just skipped these steps. So I think, again, it goes back to really getting to know a person and not marrying a stranger. People are marrying strangers, representatives. You don't even know who this person is. So a simple thing that I like to do personally is see if somebody can keep their word. It seems simple, but then you'll have all these examples of this person not keeping their word, and then you still go marry this person. Oh, I expected you to keep your word now in this marriage. All they showed you is how they couldn't do that. So I think people need to really be serious and learn how to be alone sometimes. Stop being desperate for a relationship. There's all this rhetoric on YouTube of people saying you have to be in a relationship. If you're single after 30, something's wrong with you. Something's not wrong with you. You're doing your due diligence. You're being smart, and you're waiting until you meet somebody that could match you. You're just not going to accept anything. I'm just saying. I'm done.
I got a question. You said a course or something. What was that you took?
Yeah, it was a 6-week premarital course for engaged couples.
Can I ask a question on that premarital course?
Say it again.
Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean I was going to ask you about the same thing. No, what I was going to ask you was, on that premarital course, you stated that there was a lot of questions and a lot of information that was critical to the relationship actually thriving that weren't asked or were overlooked. This is safe to say that if you participate in intimacy early before you ask these questions, that can cloud your ability to want to pursue these questions that may be a deal breaker, because the intimacy that you experience may be like, okay, look, man, damn, that was good. I might ask this question and they might say, yeah, I'm a friggin', I assaulted somebody, and you like, damn, but I don't want to lose it. You know what I'm saying? So it might be important to these questions way before you get intimate. And I think people are just jumping in bed before they even actually get to know each other.
I agree with that. We had a lot of couples that were either never intimate, or if they were intimate for that 6 weeks, they were supposed to not be intimate. So that makes a difference as well. But yeah, I agree.
I did have another question too, as far as let's say when you go through this course, you find out, and I used to use the credit for an example. I won't go too extreme, but you find out that they had a low credit score. Is that something? Are those questions deal breakers, or is that something that, depending on what it is, you're willing to talk through it? So let's say there was a felon But I said they done something. It might have been, I don't know, they did something young and dumb, maybe like a robbery or something like that with the boys, and they did something. But you're not seeing those. Are you willing to give them a chance, or is it just that's it?
All of it depends on what it is, you know what I mean? It really does. Because somebody can be a felon and change their life. I would be wrong to say that's impossible. But if they're a felon and they got bad credit and they got 5 kids by 5 different women and they got an STD, it's like, maybe not. You know what I mean? So it's a combination of everything and who this person is. Because you are all of the accumulation of all the decisions you have made throughout your life. We can't skip the history of a person. And if in total you have a failing grade, you're not for me. We have to look at everything in totality, and people don't do that. They're like, oh, this person makes good money, so we should get married. 6 figures is not enough to marry somebody. So
And then I just got one last question. Can patterns be broken? Can negative patterns be broken?
a person has to want to, and they have to show that they're already doing that. Don't break a pattern for me. If you can't do it on your own, I don't want it. That's how I feel about it.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it moving, and then we'll come back around if anybody else want to add. I'm gonna go to you, Hank. What are your thoughts about it? Why long-term love is so hard to come by?
I guess nobody's ready to stay in for the long haul. You know, everybody's quick to take their ball and go home. You know, so soon as a situation come up where they feel like it's just overwhelming, they're not ready to fight it out. You know, and not in the physical sense of fighting, but just to, you know, fight through whatever adversity you might have to go through. Will you have some hard times? Yeah. You're going to go through some up and downs. You're going to have your disagreements. You're not always going to get along. I think that's the main reason why people are not staying in it for the long haul now. You know, some other people maybe just feel like, oh, well, he's okay. I mean, it's okay. We had a nice, good 10-year run, but I see my friend Becky she's having it better over there. Maybe I want to go on the other side and see if I can find something new and get back out there. Or the dude feels like, you know, she's gained too much weight and she's not as attractive as she used to be. So let me go see what this girl at the gym talking about. So they think the grass is green on the other side, and that's not always the case. And so, you know, we as individuals, we just feel like we just gonna find better sometimes, and it's not always the right thing to do. So just whatever it is, just fight your way through it.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Miss Nicole Michelle. What are your thoughts about it, ma'am?
Ooh, it's several reasons why I think relationships aren't working. When I look at all of the couples in my family, my grandparents, my parents, what I will say is we have a lot of external factors in our faces. We have a lot going on. TV, they only had 3-4 channels. We have social media, we have cell phones, we have computer. I mean, it's just constant a barrage of information, and we have, you know, apps with people, just people. Like, you could talk to someone on the other side of the globe just by picking up your cell phone. Our grandparents did not have that. They did not have all of these external things going on, keeping us distractions. Let me just say that, distractions, right? And another thing I noticed about older people that stayed married was they didn't date a whole lot of people. It wasn't a hot girl summer, a hot boy, city boy this, and hot girl that. They were like, you hook up with the boy from the neighborhood and you get married. It was just that simple. Does he have a job? Is she marriage age? You know, what's her people like? Okay. And it was a much more simpler time. And I think now we just have so many distractions and things keeping our eye off the ball that marriage is just one of those things that's so far down the list, versus our grandparents and parents. They saw marriage as something that was definitely gonna happen at some point. It wasn't a if and or but, it was gonna happen. And it was just much more simpler in choosing a mate. And another point that I believe, as someone who's been helping people get married, I will say that a lot of people give so much in relationships before they meet the one, that by the time they meet someone that's half decent that they want to go the distance with, they are worn out. And that goes for men and women. That's, piggybacking off of Bruiser's point. By the time they show up in a relationship, they are worn out. They see some of the red flags. They're like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm good. And this is actually somebody that deserves the energy. He deserves the energy. But because we've gone with all the other guys who were cute and had us in rotation, but we like being in that rotation because he was cute or he had money. You know what I'm saying? We love that rotation, girl. But then when we finally get that brother that really is like, I love you, girl, we're like, oh, so you gonna talk to me like that? I'm out. Like, just simple, like, just gone. And the brothers do that too. You had a girl that hit you in the head to the white meat with her drama, but you love that booty though. So you were like, oh, and then by the time you get with a good woman that loves your dirty boxers, you're like, I'm tired. She better go on somewhere. And everybody's like, what? That was the one. And you're like, no. And it's really fatigue. It's relationship fatigue. And I really feel like our grandparents, and let me speak for my grandparents. Did they get on each other's nerves? Absolutely. But they were like, they didn't come to the table with so much baggage. And I think a lot of times our couples, it's not an indictment against who we are personally. It's just we come with a lot. And then by the time we get in a relationship, we're just worn out. And I didn't see that in my grandparents. My grandfather was her first, last, and only. She had all her kids with my granddaddy, and that was it. And my granddad was a widower and married my grandmother. And that was it. That was it. I mean, and because my grandfather was a pastor, sure, there were women like, oh, yeah. But he was like, nope. He was determined to make that work. And she was too. And here we are. So,
man, that was a lot there. Go ahead, Paradise Paris. What are your thoughts about it, man?
Shout out to Mike. I just seen him about 2 weeks ago here in Dallas. Had the great pleasure working with him and seeing him with his wife. And I love the fact that he practices what he preaches. He's a very gentle soul. In regards to relationships, right? The beauty about having a romantic partner is you can pick them. But people don't like work. It ain't about being burnt out. People don't like work. When things get hard, first thing they say is, I'm unhappy. I don't quit on people. You with me? We locked in. That's what that is. I'm doing whatever I can in order to make it work to the end of time, as long as our end goal is the same. People don't like conflict. And then it's such a confusing narrative because do you want love or you want somebody who you can be a great business partner with, who looks good on paper? That's where we get things conflated. Everybody want to be loved, but then they get to talking about all these other exponential things that can be fixed and corrected. All these other exponential things. You can get your record expunged. You can get things sealed and stuff like that, even with a felon. As many black men that had 1 in 3 black men have had a run-in with the law. 1 in 3. 1 in 7 of them have a criminal record. You're not getting around certain things that are systematically in place that you have to own. This is a part of who we are as a culture, right? So when you're talking about all of these other characteristics of what people look like, credit can be repaired. STDs, not so much, right? But if a person has had an STD, 1 out of 3 people now have herpes. So it's like when you're sitting up here, you're having these conversations, and we're going through all of these other nuances. It's almost coming off as if a lot of times we have conversations about relationships to determine that we are better than other people that we labeled. That's what it comes down to. You chose them and they were fun for you when you were having a good time, but somewhere along the lines, you decided you were too good for them. And that's why you chose to quit. Because when it was in the beginning, the honeymoon phase, infatuation can last anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. Infatuation, once that wears off, life hits and things really start happening. Why are you quitting? Because the idea is that you think when you go and get with this other person, they're going to give you a new experience. They're going to get you something better. They're going to get you something more greater. However, you're going to have that same experience with that new person. It's just in a different body. And that's what we fail to acknowledge. We fail to acknowledge we keep dating the same people in a different body because, like Hink said previously, you go back to your default setting. You go and pick the same type. You go and lay with the same type. They just look different. And you go and have those same experiences. You can't tell me you constantly dealing with broke men. You can't tell me you constantly dealing with women who are whores. You can't tell me that you constantly dealing with this type of person and it's not something in you that is attracting them. So until you find your level of hard and you understand that level and you understand how to constantly overachieve that level and keep working at it, you will never master it. You're just going to be a person with a lot of experiences, never learning anything.
All right. But Sarah.
I agree with her. She actually said a lot of truth. I think in a way people are nowadays just looking at the positive, the pretty, what is good for me in a marriage or a relationship, but they don't see what requires from me when things get ugly. What are the sacrifices that I have to do? What's the work that I have to put on? Because people are, just looking at the beautiful that people post on social media, on TV, the fairy tale thing, they think it's everything up, 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 but it's ups and downs. And it requires a lot of work from both parties. It requires sacrifices from both. It requires forgiveness and understanding from both. So I think it's just people is the reason why it's not working or it's so hard to come by is that people concentrate on what's good, what I can get, and not what I can give.
All right, like that. Go ahead, Marcus.
I want to touch back on what he said because I think that's kind of the answer to this whole thing, right? I think it's the foundation, right? It's really hard to build something great on a poor foundation. And in the beginning of these relationships, it's a lot of things that people let slide for whatever reason. It could be you attracted and you still want to have sex with her, or he was spending the money that you wanted for the things you wanted. We let these small things slide that we really should be looking at and addressing. It might not be something to leave somebody for, but it's definitely something to have a conversation with. And in order to not rock the boat and keep things consistent within the relationship, but we having fun and having sex, you let stuff that is gonna be a problem for you in the long term go. And by doing that, we train people how to treat us, right? So you essentially train this person that this behavior is fine and that they can continue with this. And when you come to them and say this is a problem in the future, now this person is going to look at you like it wasn't a problem back then. Why is it a problem now? And what happens with women sometimes, they'll start to pull other issues out of that. And now they're looking and searching for things that could be the reason as to why you're addressing this with them now. And that can create a snowball effect and it can spiral and spiral and spiral. But if you go back to the foundation of how you create these relationships, the things that you are unhappy with, you got to address. I'm not saying you got to curse somebody out. I'm not saying you got to yell at them. You got to address them in a manner where the person can hear where you're coming from, what you mean, why you're saying that, and why it's not conducive to a positive working relationship. And when you do that, you can solve those things. And that's one more layer of the foundation that you're building upon. But if you try and just skip over something that's a major thing and put stilts on it and then build off of there, it's doomed to crash. And I think it's a lot of stilts on these relationships when things should have been addressed early on.
Can I ask you a question, Mark?
Yeah.
So you think people may get their feelings too involved in relationships to the point where it kind of keep them from reaching the big picture? I mean, I see a lot of times men go into relationships with the big picture in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Lifestyle, family, protection, stuff like that. Trying to get to that level. And a lot of women are going in it. Someone would say an individualistic mentality, my emotions, overall. And that could, maybe cause people to try to, or become incompatible. Do you think that it's safe to say that?
that their emotions is the things that tear them apart and bring them in different directions?
Basically, people getting their feelings too involved in a relationship, too involved. I mean, I'm not saying you can't get your feelings in it, but your individual feelings maybe
So
suppressing the end goal, the big picture of what's more important. Me personally, I was raised up to believe that the family was more important than your individualistic goals and aspirations. And I think
so
those things, I think once you get in a relationship, those goals and aspirations still tend to be severely prevalent to the point where they become priority no matter what, even if they're attached to another person.
so okay. I agree with the point that people get too involved with their emotions early on, right? But I think it manifests in a different way. What I think happens is what I was speaking on earlier about ignoring things. You get so involved with the person that out of the fear of losing them, you will let the stuff go that you should have addressed. You know what I'm saying? And if you like, even if say you like, for example, when you was talking about a goal, long term working or something, right? If you know you have to allocate a certain amount of time to doing something that's going to pull you away from the relationship, if you clearly communicate that with the person and they are not understanding of that, that's going to be an issue in the long term when you're trying to achieve those goals. And if you like the person too much, you won't step away from them when you should. I think liking someone removes the ability to remove yourself from the situation if you see the signs that it's there that you need to remove yourself from it.
Can
Okay,
I
I get it.
interject something? I think a lot of times when we talk about these situations, we talk about only one micro sector of women. The woman who goes into it all for herself, the individualistic woman, when reality shows women are very male centered, very ego centered around male validation. Um, Even down to, have you ever seen a woman trying to be rejected by a man? Like, and some of y'all have had that experience, I'm sure. The way that women correlate their hierarchy into a man's life, the whole who comes first, his mother, his wife, his daughter, his baby mama, right? Men are not having that conversation about who comes first, me or her daddy. That's never a thing. Um, when we are having this conversation, I don't think we actually acknowledge the women who have a huge codependency on their male spouse. So what I believe happens is after the ring, there's a sense of entitlement that kicks in after the ring. After the ring, there's a sense of ego that inflates for her. After he sat down and he's made sacrifices for her to get to where she wants to go. After, she sat there and overextended herself, giving and giving and giving, but never acknowledging what his actual needs are, which is why we always default back to cheating as if it's the only issue in a relationship, which is not. And we only talk about it as if men are the only ones who do it. What I see typically happens, women show up with their representative and we put it on throughout the duration of the relationship until we get the ring. After we've gotten the ring, it's no longer exciting for her anymore because we just made it to the final level. That's when the real work starts, right? Because now you can't go anywhere. Whereas men, you're like, okay, well, this is the new chapter for me. This is the real start. This is when I get out the game and everything actually fine tunes up. Where you go from, being a player to where you're now the coach and where she has to switch sides and get in the game and actually run the ball. It's a very different dynamic for us. Most times, women are, as much as we say we don't like to compete, we are competing hella hard before that ring. We're absolutely competing. We're nail, head, and tail competing, trying to get his validation from his mother, trying to get his validation from if he has a baby mama, and from whatever woman that previously just had his heart, and for the next woman that will have his attention. It's always us constantly competing. And when she gets into the relationship and she finally gets the ring, then she don't want to work no more. I think women experience a sense of burnout because it's not all guns and roses anymore.
Yeah, you said when a woman get into the marriage, they get over that hump, commitment, then they get entitled. What do you mean by entitled?
You mind?
Because
You
one
won't.
would say though, if the
why
man
women
is communicating,
that's why women use a ring in order to shame other women. Oh, I'm married. I got my man. Where you at? So we
but I
won.
would argue against. I would argue against that. I know a lot of women, and in fact, my wife is one of them. I communicated what to expect. I communicated the things I was able to offer her in a marriage, and the goals we were able to reach, and the milestones we was able to reach, and the end game. And so long as I've held up to it, and she hold me to it, she's justified to be entitled to that. I think it all depends on specifically what a woman feels she's entitled to. If a man say, "Hey, look, I'm going to give you this," and in marriage, there's nothing wrong with her being entitled to those things that he promised her.
I think you're arguing the wrong point. And I also think you're doing it from a projecting standpoint because you seem to have a very much so high level of self-awareness and emotional intelligence, and you seem to know how to communicate very thoroughly. However, you are an anomaly, my brother. You don't speak for the masses of people who are intersocializing with other women. You don't speak for the masses of people who
I think it's just the circle you run in.
Listen to what I'm saying. A lot of times when you hear women discuss relationships as a woman, right? The first thing we say is, I gave you everything. I did all of this work for nothing. It was a waste of my time. Versus the woman who goes and actually gets married. When a woman has been with a man for umpteen long periods of time, her response to that relationship afterwards is usually a defeated mentality. It's usually a defeatist mentality because why did I sit there and waste all them years with you? I will never do that again. I will never go that long with a man again. And we start giving ultimatums in our conversation and dating. If he got to wait longer than 3 years to put a ring on it, I'm leaving. If he got to do this longer than such and such time, then we're not going to be together. This is how women talk. So once she gets the ring, I'm not saying she's not entitled to it. What I'm saying is that inflated ego, it goes higher. It's not towards her man. It's using you as the trophy to say, I won, look at my prize. So I don't have to show up the way that you think I have to show up because if I was a hoe, he just proved that it don't matter. If I was a terrible person as a friend, he just proved it don't matter. If I was never accountable, he just proved it don't matter. All of what you talking about no longer matters because now I got a ring. So when she's saying she's tired, she's sick of the relationship, which is why a lot of women now are saying, oh, we're single, married moms or whatever that is, right? And they leave because we know women leave more than men. What I'm saying is the leaving part is due to her overextending herself, her constantly giving, never sitting back to see what he actually needs because she showed up with her representative majority of the time. We've been faking the funk for a long time. We fake it in sex. We fake it in friendships. A lot of women can maintain a friendship for a very long time, and she secretly hates her friends.
What?
We show it with our representative. Just because you ended up marrying this woman does not mean that she didn't show it with her representative.
Well, look, let me apologize for not making myself clear. I went through a personality change some months back, and I changed the way I approach this kind of conversation. So what I started to do, instead of being a statistical person instead of getting my resource in theories and facts from general statistics, I started cutting off the circle of people I hang around, and I started hanging around the people that was similar to myself. And what the changes I started to see that significantly these problems and these issues that you were stating had a lot to do with the people that I was hanging around. Changed my circle. I started seeing men who were upfront and upright, and I wouldn't call it an anomaly. Before I would call it an anomaly, but once I started hanging around the correct circle that complimented me, it started to seem like the norm, and the problems you stating started to seem like the exception. So, for the sake of conversation, and if we can keep the conversation moving, I would recommend you to just hang around a circle of women that, actually have proven and successful relationships. You might get a different perspective out of it. And it won't be you won't be settled in or sold on every time a woman get out of a marriage. It's the same thing. or same tendency or same excuse. Oh, my bad. Somebody else can talk now.
You can't expect me to take you seriously.
I'm sorry, Jay. Were you about to say something?
Yeah, it was on Jay next.
Oh, it's on me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna respond to that.
Okay. I mean, going specifically on the video, I mean, I think it's about perspective. I think it's about the people involved. Why are they, why are these long-term relationships hard to come by? It's the pressure that we put on ourselves when we're looking for these relationships. Before I get into that, I want to, speak to something Paradise was saying in terms of you picking the same person that is not conducive for a long-term relationship. I think a lot of us have to get out of our own way or identify why we are dating the same people with literally different names. You know what I'm saying? You have to identify that first, or you are going to have a bad dating life, and you'll probably never find a successful marriage that way. And I know with me personally, that happened to me. I was dating the same people, but it was something with me. I was so set on finding people that I could fix that it took the pressure off of what I had going on. So as long as I'm building this person up and pulling them up, I don't have to address what I need to do and what my goals are. And there's nobody holding me accountable. You know what I'm saying? The spotlight is off me. It's like, okay, well, we're working on you now. And after you deal with a number of those relationships, where you're trying to correct somebody that is just hell bent on surviving and not living, I'm planning for 10 years ahead. You trying to get through the week. I had to address that with myself. Well, I got to stop dating these people, and then I started dating people that were more on my level or even, a step above. And it was a rude awakening. It was a rude awakening in that it felt different to have somebody just say, we're going out of town this weekend. Have your bags packed. We're going to the beach for the weekend. You know what I mean? Like, I was always used to building somebody up so much that there was really no time to enjoy the relationship and bond. Everything was a task. But in terms of the actual video, I think it's your perspective. Like I had a female friend who she had her stuff together, had a good job, had a house. Dude came into her life, and at first he was great, but slowly he started just disintegrating, to the point where, her house got foreclosed on. And and she still was willing to stay with him. But from his perspective, what I believe is that he couldn't come back to her because he knew that she would never look at him the way she wants. She would never look at him the way she once did. You know what I mean? Or like with men, it's pride, it's respect. It's like, I can't go back into that because she'll never respect me the way she once did because of what I put her through or because of the circumstances that I've caused. He came into she had a balanced life, decent job, house. And to him, he feels like he destroyed that. And and after all that, she was still willing to stay with him. But I'm telling her, like, it's an ego thing. If we don't feel respected, we would rather go to someone new who's going to look at us with that respect that we want, rather than to stay with somebody who saw us just collapse, even if they're willing to endure and stay. It's ego. So why is it hard, to answer the question? Because some people are not willing to put into work to build themselves back up after they fail or after they are seen a certain way by somebody they feel that they can't come back from that.
Go ahead, Balance.
I don't know if everybody got to speak on it.
Everybody did.
Because I wanted to add something. I always say that discipline and patience go hand in hand. You need both of these things. And a lot of people lack these things, right? So I think people, again, they're so quick to move into relationships. They can't be by themselves. But I think I was single before my relationship for like almost 4 years. And that time I got to grow and learn about myself and mature in a lot of ways, get educated in a lot of ways. But my point was, I am too good to what Paris was saying earlier. I think I am too good for a lot of people who are not as self-aware, who didn't do that self-work, who don't have self-love and didn't educate themselves. I work hard on myself. So I think I am too good for a lot of people who don't have that discipline and that patience. So for me, I'm not going to just settle for anybody just because they earn this or they look like this or whatever they think is the prize. I mean, I want somebody who's just as self-aware as I am and who works on themselves as hard as I do. And I mean that physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, in every aspect, not just one. So I think it's easy for us to say, oh, okay, as long as this man is coming to you and he has this, you should settle for that. But no, I don't believe in that. And it's not that my standards are too high. I think they meet where I am. So I think people need that balance. Don't just accept anything that's offered to you. If somebody's going to offer me food off the street, I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to go get what I want.
What?
So yeah, exactly. I don't take just free stuff off the street. I'm going to get exactly what I want, what I desire, what I work hard for. So that's just how I feel. No, I am too good. But I'm going to leave it like that. That's it. And wait, I want to just add one thing. Not all people are created equal. Not all women are created equal. Not all men are created equal. So there are levels to it. I think Jay was saying there are levels to it, right? So you need to know where you fall and then know who can meet you there. Some people, they different levels. If somebody's up here, they shouldn't have to settle for something that's not where they are. That's how I feel about it.
This is why I respect what you said. And this is the caveat in what I was saying, right? You are probing. You are intentional. You are saying, okay, this is what this is what this not. I think wise people do that, right? It's the vetting process. Because I too wouldn't just accept anything. Once I see like, okay, well, this man, and let me just throw it out here. I'm not your first stepmom candidate. I'm just not her. I feel like I can have that same type of stature that men and disposition that men have about it. I do not have to accept you coming to me with a child, right? So I preface that by saying that I can be very selective in how I go about things or get, myself into situations with men. It doesn't mean that I won't, but I have that option. So with you saying that, the difference between what you were saying and what I was saying is people are discovering their betterment after they've already established with this person. And I just don't believe that. I believe a lot of times what you think about yourself and who you feel that what you feel you actually deserve shows up in a reflection of things around you. A lot of times we try to, and this is just me speaking for women, a lot of times we try to use women as a catalyst to pivot them above men. What I'm currently seeing is the Krishan and Blueface and the DDG and Haley Bailey and all of these other things. They're using these women to say, why is she with him? She can do better than him, et cetera, right? Or even Beyonce and Jay-Z, they've said it for years. However, we're not acknowledging the fact that these women love these men for whatever reason. And while you're sitting here thinking that she's better than him, right? She's under his provision. She's under his leadership. She's subordinate to him in some ways. She's submissive to him in a lot of ways, and a lot of them are making money together. So while we're telling these women they're better than him, some of these women are actually waking up and going, I'm better than my man. The whole time, y'all equals. You're right there where he is. You're not better than him. And I think that's the difference in between what I'm saying versus what you're saying, because you're saying I'm going through and I'm selecting this. I've done the work. I'm not for this. I've had the experience to say this is not for me before I even get into it. Whereas the other portion of that is people saying it after they've already established livelihoods, they've already sat there and made money together, they've already, had terrible experience together, et cetera, et cetera. You're not better than them. You're a reflection of them.
Okay. I understand both sides. And I want to just add on that in the beginning, men and women have representatives and they lie. I have been lied to many, many, many times. And the truth didn't come out till months later, even a year later. So I just want to add that. And I know women do it and men do it as well. So sometimes you may think you're getting one thing and you don't find out till later, oh, that's not who you are. And then you leave. That's acceptable because you are lying. This is not who you presented to me. You're somebody completely different. So really, you didn't know who they were. And then you leave. That's okay. But I want to give a personal example of a man I was dating. He told me that he hated his father. His father lived about like 10 minutes from him. He's like, I hate my father. I can't stand that man. He was wishing all these negative things on him. He's like, he never treated me like the child he loved. And then he got another family and raised those kids with that woman who wasn't his kids, basically. So he felt neglected by his father. And I'm like, I can't date you until you work on that. I think we're not compatible. We are not compatible until you heal that part of you and your father. I'm not saying you have to be best friends, but that hate that you have for him, we could never work in a relationship. So I have to be self-aware enough to know that's not going to work for me, right? And he's like, nobody has ever said that. I'm sure they haven't. That's not going to work for me. So until you go heal that, I'm going to go my separate way. People don't do that. But you have to be self-aware enough in yourself to be able to do that with somebody else. So really, it's the work you do internally first in order to have a healthy relationship with somebody else. So that's all.
And if I can, we gotta appreciate observation. I know a lot of people like to use their own experience. We live in a world where I would argue most people use their observations to make decisions, or it has an influence on them as if it was their own experience. It had the same impact, which is why I say, and I think somebody said something about everybody. I think Balance said everybody's not equal. That's why I kind of harp on your network, your circle. You could still win. You know what I'm saying? Your circle of influence should be very appreciated. You know what I'm saying? You can surround yourself with a whole bunch of wealthy people, and chances are likely that you can be wealthy. You giving yourself that much opportunity. I've rarely seen one broke person hang around 100 wealthy men and he never get it. It's very rare. Similar to like a organization or a team playing basketball. You might be a bum. You might suck. You might have one little thing you can do, and all the rest of the players on the roster might be superstars. If you play on that team, you may find yourself holding a trophy. So and I'm speaking of women, you change your circle because women have a tendency to just, even if they make it, even if they get married, it's still, and men too, but I see it a lot in women, and that's who I've been talking to. So forgive me on being a little one-sided, but I see a lot of women drag along friends that are just poison to their direction. And they'll never be able to get over their hump. They'll never be able to have a successful relationship until they cut these women off. And even if they're single and they just hanging around single women that just don't even want to, I don't believe that ain't never going to work. Until you change your circle, be able to have any hope or witness love. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to change it.
And go ahead and get to these super chats real quick. Marcus, you want to say something? Okay. All right. Let Marcus finish it off and then we'll move on.
I was just going to say, I think in business, like in basketball, like in relationships, I heard Nipsey say this before. I think he is a quote from somebody else, but success leaves clues, right? So there's a roadmap to a destination. It would be prudent of someone who wanted to go there to just look at the steps that the other person took to get there, right? Because success doesn't exist in a vacuum. With whatever measure you're trying to measure that by, usually that they're tangible things that you can pull from people, be it a business, be it a relationship, be it anything that you can get acclimated to yourself in whatever way, you know, your personal way, whichever way fits for you, and utilize them, and they can get you, if not the same results, but very, very similar.
Appreciate that, Marcus. Get to these super chats real quick. Marcus Evans, $2 says, talk this. I read that one already. My apologies. End of the Dragon, $5. Long-term relationships are broken by women who think they can always find better, unlike men who are usually on the road of being better. End of the Dragon again, $10 says, probably go broke today. A woman's masculine energy will repel most men, while her feminine energy allows a man to love her endlessly. No matter what she does until death, ladies, to be feminine is free. Fatties, $5 says, women are always going to get into relationships for selfish reasons. If you get one that doesn't, you found a rare Pokemon. Marcus Evans, $5 says, why? I get the feeling that Paris is the only woman that gets it. Ali, $9.99 says, the man that tells the truth and the man that lies to women get the same results. Prove me wrong. Only difference is the lying man won't admit it to keep getting sex from the lying women this way. Ali again, lastly, $4.99. The single man and the married man getting the same women too. Married men just lie about their women to look good. Most of us getting the same thing. I want to thank everybody that has contributed to the platform thus far. Hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to my Green Gang. Click that link into the top if you want to become part of Green Gang. We did have one more come in. I'm inspired too. $2 says men need to own their part in a trash dynamic. Salute to you for that. Let's go ahead and get into the main topic. The main topic of this evening. Early afternoon for some folks. Y'all ready? Y'all good? Musa, we good?
Musa.
I'm about to play a clip. As always, make sure we pay attention. Everybody ready for the clip? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Yeah, we good? Okay. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and play this clip. The next topic of this evening. Women don't trust men's guidance. Women don't trust men's guidance. I've been waiting for this discussion. We'll go ahead and play the context.
You can tell me what to do. You can tell me what to do. If you can't tell me what to do, then you can't. Women know exactly what that means.
Fact.
In relationship with the man that I didn't trust, that I knew doggone well couldn't guide me, which also led into more of my masculinity having to show up. Most women, they don't trust their man's guidance. They also need to be able to trust that you even have the capacity to guide them.
Right.
Do you have all of your things in order to where you can't even tell me what to do?
Right.
What if my husband wasn't even eating the way that he's eating? What if he wasn't, as plant-based, gluten-free, eating whatever he wanted?
Right.
My thought process would be, how you gonna tell me what to eat? You ain't eating right either. So the average woman, she's sizing up the man that she's with.
And this woman may not even be conscious of the fact that being that she has this wide scope of emotional bandwidth that's constantly receiving data, when she sees how you handle your diet, how you handle your finances, you constantly gambling on a Sunday game and losing your money and getting frustrated. When she sees all these different things in ways she may not even address, because a lot of times, well, that's just what men do. Her soul is making these notes, and when it is time for you to talk about her leveling up in some completely other way, and you can't understand why she refuses, you got to look at your own itinerary of where you are imbalanced at, and it's sending a message to her spirit, no, he's not safe to listen to.
All right. Women don't trust men's guidance. Women don't trust men's guidance. See, we're gonna go here. Let me go to Jay. Go to Jay. I ain't gonna go to Jay, man. I know Jay like to kind of sit for a little bit. Let me go to Marcus, man. Go ahead, Marcus. Women don't trust men's guidance, then we'll go to balance.
All right, I'm about to get eaten up in the chat. I already know this right now. I don't care. All right. So here we go. I think competent people instill confidence in them, right? And a lot of times, if you're not in control of your emotions as a man, if you're not in a position where somebody can truly look up to you, it can become difficult for somebody to have that type of trust in you. Because you got to think, they fully submitting to you, right? If they gonna submit, if you're in a situation where she's fully trusting you and putting her all into you, and you are showing yourself to be unregulated, if you're showing yourself to be somebody who cannot remain stoic, who cannot remain emotionally in control of the situation, it's going to be extremely hard for her to feel safe doing that. And in turn, you'll get the bucking back and all that stuff. When she said the man who can tell me what to do can tell me what to do, and the man who can't, I believe it. I've seen it. I look at situations, I'm like, if I interject myself in that situation, I could fix that. If I interject somebody with the same mentality in they could fix that. The things that are required for you to get the results that you want, sometimes we don't have. And everybody doesn't have everything. It's skill sets, right? So you can grow those things. But I completely understand what she's saying. I really do. Honestly, I do. And a lot of times in relationships, where I talk to people before, during, and after. And before, I'm like, hey, you probably should address this. You probably should do this. You probably should do that. You probably should do this. I'm not doing all of that. That's too much work. Then you get a result that makes you have to restart and do this over again. And I say, hey, you probably should do this. You probably should do that. You probably should do this. I'm not doing all that. If I got to do all that, I don't want to be with her. But you're going to have to do it with somebody for the type of relationship that you want. And until you understand that concept, in life, you are doomed to repeat the things you do not learn from. Life, those lessons at you, those the tests at you, and you either fail or pass to get to the next point. If you are repeating the same thing, I guarantee you there's something that you are doing wrong.
All right, go ahead, Balance.
Well said, Marcus. Okay. You guys, one of my favorite rap groups before Prodigy died was Mobb Deep. And they had that song, No Such Thing as Halfway Crooks. There's a lot of women out here halfway crooks. It's like, if you know you don't respect that man's leadership, why are you with him? You can't play both sides of the fence. And that's where women are going wrong. You chose that man to follow, and you don't trust his leadership. I say this every time. I think, why would you do that? You're at fault. Why would you choose a man and then buck with him every day? That's insane. It's so crazy. I would never. People want to be in a relationship so bad. Be by yourself. If you can't respect him and trust his leadership, be on your own. Because why would you fight with a man all day? It's crazy. But I also was thinking about the Bible verse where it says, be hot or cold, lukewarm, you get spit out, right? A lot of women, you just lukewarm. I have to take it to Mobb Deep in the Bible. You say I gotta do both on here, JR. But then, God said if you're lukewarm, you will be spit out. It's disgusting. Nobody wants lukewarm tea. We want iced tea. We want hot tea. Same as people. We don't want lukewarm people, men or women. And I think most men and women, they want what they don't qualify for. You want that A1 woman. You want that A1 man, but you're not that. You're not that. And if you want it, work on yourself to get that. But that's not what people are doing. They're settling for men they don't respect and fighting every day. How does this make sense in anybody's brain? I can't even see the chat, but if I did, I'm going to leave it alone. Okay, I'm done right now.
All right. No, you good, man. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jay. I'm going to go to you, and then we'll go to Nicole.
Man, I think that's absolutely correct. I mean, what Balance was saying in regards to, I think the only caveat is that people present as qualifying. It's almost like the old dude in the club with some young clothes on. Nigga, you don't need to be here, fam. You're 56 years old. You don't need to be in this grown and sexy. And grown and sexy essentially is 27 to 35. Technically, you 56, bro. You've been there, done that. Take your jeans suit off with your shades and your fitted hat to the back and your earring, what I mean? Your 2 earrings, and beat it, but they'll qualify for that based on how they present. And that's where you get tripped up. And that's what I think the issue is. Women aren't, they're not trusting that because they've been duped, and men too, but the question is, women, they've been duped. We can present. I mean, I've been that person that couldn't keep up. You know what I mean? Everything looked good. And then I'm like, damn, this is, she was older, had her shit together. And I'm like, I'm just not there yet. But I played it great initially. and then I'm in it and I'm not meeting the requirements, and you know, the inevitable happens. But I think those are the issues. You have the posers, you know, the fake it till you make it. Some people take that in regards to relationships too. Nah, you can't fake relationships if you're trying to meet, you know, the end goal. If you're trying to be married, you can't fake it till you make it in that. You have to come to that with the tools that are required for longevity, you know.
All right, go ahead, Nicole.
All right. I might upset the apple cart a little bit, but what I will say is listening to a lot of people on social media, I just can't take them seriously. Once you tell me you're sleeping with a man you don't respect, I cannot listen to you any longer. I do believe that I think a lot of women just, you kind of tell on yourself when you are literally giving babies to and having sex with and choosing over and over and over men you don't respect, you don't find competent. I can't. We have to stop that. Like I say to a lot of women, you can get married, but you like being in that rotation with that guy. Like there is a sitcom on Hulu. It's only one season with Delroy Linroy. What's his name? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Lindo.
Yes,
Delroy
and
Lindo.
Kerry Washington only went one season, and I know why they cut it. That show was way too real. And in this, she's a therapist, a licensed therapist online, giving relationship advice to other people, and she is like totally not qualified for relationships, as you will see in the show. And she totally dissed a guy who was everything she wanted to go back into the rotation with a man. So this is when I'm go back into a rotation with a man who wasn't choosing her. And what I'm telling my sisters is, I understand that there are some men that have leadership issues, but we really can't hold them to that if we are actively and happily signing up to be in relationships, situationships, rotations, and whatnot with men who lack that. Period. And so I look at some people on social media and I'm like, it's entertainment. That's all it is. It's a conversation starter because I don't consider you an expert because you're telling me this is someone that you chose. So that's where I stand.
Real quick, and it comes out as far as the respect. That's a great point because it comes out afterward. Because how many times do you see it go left and then the woman immediately crushes him? You know, oh, you know, he was gay anyway, he was broke, he was the, you know, you never respected him. Nobody that truly respects somebody, even if it's over, you're not gonna go in on them like that, you know.
Well, because she wanted him. She was attracted to him. You know, like these conversations with leadership are valid, but on the women's side, before we can be good followers and good submissive women and feminine and all those things, we have to choose a man that has the right temperament and leadership qualities. And we're doing none of that a lot of times. So now when it goes left, because it will, now all of a sudden he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. And it's like, so that's all I'm saying. That probably upsets some people, but it's true. We like the rotation. We like the highs and lows, the roller coaster. And then when it goes left, then it's all his fault or it's all her fault. No, with leadership, you have to be on point knowing what a good leader is. And then once you understand that this is somebody, or once you decide that this is somebody you want to be with, you need to be on point with his program. And if that's not what you want to do, you got to leave that man alone. Let him go about his business because that's not you. That's not you. Let him go. Let someone have him that can actually be a good match for him. But we don't want to, because we want what we want. We want what we want. We want him because he look good. He got money, whatever, whatever. But then when it goes left, because it will, we really don't like him like that. We're really not choosing him like that. We're just attracted to him, or he fits some kind of mold. And it comes out when we get angry or it goes left. So.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Bruiser. Your thoughts about it, sir.
My thoughts about it is could be one of three things. I think people stated the first two things are not clearly outlining their plan, their guide, in the beginning of the relationship to even win the trust of the woman. Secondly, the woman never seen or witnessed another woman trusting a man in their life, so they don't know what it looks like. So they don't be able to witness something. You got to be able to see things, oftentimes, to trust things. Uh, so she'll disagree with his style of leadership. And this stems from being conditioned with a lack of femininity. And that's where you get pushed back and this combative nature. And the third thing, the final thing that I've been able to understand is a lot of women they want the bad boy. That's their overall choice. They want the bad boy, but they still want him to have these unrealistic traits and personality traits and qualities, but they want the bad boy. So that's where you get misguided.
Like that. Sometimes women are looking to be guided, right? Like they know right from wrong, even though they still make poor choices. And sometimes they may turn to that man that's in their life. They may have had a father, or maybe they never had a father. So they're looking for a man to actually influence them to be within a certain situation. Not a certain situation, but within a certain way. And so sometimes she may be testing you without telling you, hoping that you will not fail along with her. So it may be something that she may not really want to do or participate in, or may not, and you're doing it with her. And so she's looking at you like you're just like me. Like I'm looking for somebody that's going to actually lead us in a different direction, but you're making the same mistakes I'm doing. Like I have a problem spending, you just spending right along with me. I'm trying to turn my life over to Christ, and you're still doing the same things I'm trying to get away from. Like you're not helping us, is how they may look at it. You're not helping us. So it's just something to kind of factor in when sometimes like the woman's psyche may be a little bit deeper than what you anticipate. Sometimes women like want to lean on men, but they have a hard time doing it because the men around them, they don't see that leadership, or maybe they've grew up in a household where it just wasn't there. But there are some women that may want to respect a man, but it's just kind of really hard. And I do agree that does happen, that they never had respect for him from the get-go. And so we talked about it on last Thursday, where they're in a relationship off of survival. So, they know they shouldn't be there, but for whatever reason, it's convenient for them. And so they are going to endure it. And sometimes it works, but I don't have the stats on that. And a lot of times it don't work, because it all comes down to that respect. That respect is very important. If men don't feel it, you may not generally get that man. I mean, if he's not getting the respect, he's going to go the other way. Like you guys are mentally not going to be there. And the same thing with her. If she doesn't respect you, she's not going to mentally be there. And you'll start to see it play off in the bedrooms. They're sleeping in separate rooms because they never really had a connection. They never was mentally stimulating one another. And so now they're growing apart, but it's almost like they strangers living up under the same roof. And then they got kids. Once the kids are grown, then they on their own. So like legally married and still dating other people. So,
But Lapeef, I think guidance implies that the person guiding knows where they're going. And a lot of women just don't trust that the man knows where he's going. So sometimes it's not, and this is a wise woman wouldn't even go as far as getting into a relationship with him. So in the early stages, she'll notice he's inconsistent. Like Balance said, he doesn't keep his word. He's all over the place. Those are red flags for wise women to say, oh, pause, let me pump the brakes on him, because where is he taking me to? Leadership comes into question, into play, where she would have gladly followed. I mean, but the guidance, where are we going question kept coming up because he doesn't even know where he's taking himself. And I'm going to hitch my wagon to a wagon going over the cliff. So when a men say that they want to guide a woman, or women don't trust men's guidance, you have to ask yourself, am I trustworthy? Can this woman count on me when the chips are down? Not in a transactional relationship. I need this, you need that, and we just gonna call. No, a real relationship. Can she count on you? Otherwise, you're not a guide. You're not a leader. Your submission should not be in your lexicon. That's not something you're ready for. Leaders and guides assume responsibility, and or can you be responsible for where you're taking this woman? And that should be a question every man should be able to definitively answer.
Go ahead, Paradise.
I think it's a lot of nuance to this conversation. At the basis of it, women are attracted to men off of feeling. We have to feel security, and we have to feel that you are confident. We have to feel that you can dominate. And once we feel those things, as long as you can keep reassuring that feeling, you got us locked in. The issue with why women can't trust men's guidance is because there's a heavy dependability issue. A lot of men are hard to depend on. And I think that the conversation gets mixed up in the crossfire because women have this idea that regardless of who I am to him, because he understands his role, his goals should always be aligned to whatever woman. Whereas men are like, nah, I never told you that we were more than anything than what I'm doing. So you're assuming I can't lead. You're assuming that you should have all of this type of hierarchy in my life. And I never gave you any type of ounce of anything for that. I showed you I was inconsistent with you. I showed you that I didn't care about you emotionally. I showed you these things, and I'm not for having a conversation to solidify what you should already know. Whereas women on the other end, we're constantly like, men should be leaders. Men should be providers. He should do this because he's a man, and I should get this because I'm a woman. So we think even if we're just having sex, we have access to their friendship. We have access to their protection. We have access to their resources. And they segregate the two. I think that there's a heavy dependability issue that both parties play, from women's expectations as well as men's authority. And we keep throwing this word around, leader and guidance, and where are we going? Where are we going? Where he never picked up that task at all. He's constantly showed you he wasn't up for that task. He's never talked to you about what it looks like to be a parent until a pregnancy scare. He never told you what it looked like as far as how to handle your finances, even when you were in a pickle. He gave you the money to get out his face. He didn't give you no knowledge, no education, no none of that. There's a huge conversational gap between expectations of why women can't trust men's guidance, because women are still trying to act in their nature for men while resisting it at the same time. And men are consciously choosing to give their nature to the woman that they want to prioritize, and not all women they have access to.
You stated in the beginning of your sermon that men are hard to depend on. Can you elaborate on that part real quick? I'm just trying to get a understanding.
Absolutely. I've never not seen a man who really don't know how to treat a woman. That's some shit women made up to feel better about our ego. Most men know women like flowers. Most men know women like gifts. Most men know women like time. Most men know women like attention. You know these things. You never had to force a man who didn't want to cheat not to cheat. You never had to force a man to go and give money or give a gift to a woman that he admired and respected and he cared for. He absolutely knows what to do. And Balance and Ms. Nicole and Jay spoke about men lying, showing up as their representatives. It happens all the time. And it happens at the basis of men saying this one little statement: if I lie to you, you will not give me what I want. if I tell you the truth, you will not give me what I want. If I tell you why I'm really here, you will not give me what I want, which is just sex. So when we start the foundation of that from the actual interaction from his goal versus her goal, and then we did the same thing on the women's end to say, well, I can continue this relationship without getting my feelings involved. What we see is that when the relationship dynamic starts to readjust itself as time go on, and this sneaky link become a little bit more of a codependency situation, and they get a little bit more intertwined with each other and start learning a little bit more about each other, he starts intentionally dropping the ball. Sometimes it's not intentional, but he starts to drop the ball. Whereas this was your fun girl, shit start getting serious. But he don't want it to get serious because he know how he showed up was just to get what he want. So he starts to be less dependable. Except for when
somebody help me understand. It sounds like you answered my question. Basically, I mean, you said a whole lot, but it sounds like, to sum it up, is men are hard to depend on because of some pussy.
No,
men are hard
Bruce.
to depend on because they don't keep their words when they show up on a fickle situation.
Hold on, I think I could translate it. What she was saying was, men are dependable. Box. If they just smashing, they don't want to show you they're dependable because they don't want you to think there's a real relationship occurring. Box. So the women are getting the men who are not dependable because it's this box. But those men can be dependable. It's just not for this box of women. And she's saying those women in this box think that there's a relationship occurring when it's not in that box. Right?
Which in turn, why women do not trust men's guidance, because women box
are in that box. Yeah.
Women, this box, think that regardless of whatever her agency is, if she's poor, if she's rich, if she's a whore, if she's a modest woman, if she don't worship anything, if she's very spiritual. Women believe that all women are on the same plateau of how their treatment should be given by men. Regardless of how she interacts with you, I can be with you, Marcus, and I can be a completely, church girl with you, and I can go to Jay, and I can be a complete promiscuous woman, and I can go to Hink, and I can kind of, give him whatever, it is in the moment, the girlfriend experience, and I can go to JR, and I can give him the wifey treatment, and I can go to Darwin, and I can give him, just lying, cheating, gold digger, right? But the idea is, regardless of your experiences with me, you should still be the same man all the way around. And when that doesn't happen, right, for every man that I've dealt with, women start to say, I can't depend on him. Ain't no guidance here. I don't trust him. If you can't tell me what to do, you can't tell me what to do.
So it sounds like y'all want men to maintain his ability to be dependent on, even if you don't require anything in exchange for sexual intimacy. You expect, you bust it open, but you still expect a man to be on his square in a dependent nature without having any requirement. So the statement should be, men are hard to depend on when you just give up the vagina recklessly.
No, the statement is what I said it was.
The statement essentially is, it's not that he doesn't want to be in a relationship. He doesn't want to be in a relationship with you. So all those boxes that are available to those who he deems worthy of being in a relationship with. That was game. A lot of us are running, I'm not looking to be in no relationship right now. I want to focus on myself. Next girl come along, she's relationship worthy, boom, we in a relationship. One is like, I thought you ain't want to be in a relationship. I worked on myself, things change, the bullshit. But that's what it is. He don't want to be in a relationship with you. So
and
the access,
if she takes the bait, right? Because this is where it goes back to what Balance has said. I've had that situation happen. God told me I'm not really looking to do anything serious now. I think it was like in COVID. Here we are 3 years later, 4 years later, he got a whole family now, right? So it's like, if you take the bait, right? Then you the bad guy because you should have been more accountable. You should have done this, that, and the third. However, right, a lot of times what we're not recognizing is men are doing their research. Men are trying to see what woman will go for it, right, based off of how he sees her. You ain't just showing up to no woman who dressed a certain type of way, trying to give her a relationship if you didn't think she was a good woman. You're not doing it if you didn't think she was a good woman. But there are certain type of men who will look at a woman and go, well, she carries herself like this, I still want to be in a relationship with her. And so when other women, they come through and they're seeing what you're capable of, and you're not showing up to the plate, because the idea is you're giving me a fair chance. The idea is you're taking me for who I am. So if you're doing that, and I seen what you're capable of for doing for this woman, why wouldn't you do it for me? Like Balance has said, a lot of times these situations are predicated off of a lie. You showed up telling me one thing, then you started doing another. And that's when I started lacking trust and guidance into you, because I can't depend on you.
Well, I will push back on that. Simply because if men are operating in a masculine way, in a dominant way, and women are they're operating in the feminine way, a more recessive way, and men wouldn't have any issues no matter what you look like or act like, as long as we're able to mold you and get you to bend, then we don't got no problem. We can change all those things. I think we get into a point in society where that's no longer, it's really hard to do that. A lot of women are stuck in their ways and they're unimpressionable to a point where it's impossible to do that. So now you gotta move in a way where, damn, if she don't fit all the, it used to be if she don't fit all the checks, okay, I'll make these changes on this woman. I'll explain why these changes are significant to us reaching the goals in the relationship, and then she'll bend. You know what I'm saying? She'll be recessive. Now we live in a day and age where women are, I hate to say this, influenced by society, the changes, liberation, and all this stuff. And now it's like, okay, I don't have to bend. You got to take me as I am on some Mary J. Blige shit.
Women have always been adaptable. Women have always been influenced. Women have always been the most gullible of the two genders. Always. We've always been the ones who are malleable every single time, which is why even now you have conversations that people are like, well, older men are like, I would rather get a woman that's 19, 20, 21 who got low mileage because I can influence her to do whatever. And that's no different from her picking up her phone and watching me and Balancing Codes or Miss Nicole. It's literally no difference. The difference is between what I'm saying and what you're saying is that women are having these experiences and this coming out in the bitterness, right? This is the old I don't need a man trope. And the whole I don't need a man trope stems from women's experiences of saying, I have tried to be the best version of myself for a man. I have tried to overextend. I have showed up for him. I stayed in a long relationship. It reaped me no benefit. And it was because this man was not dependable. It was because this man did not show up for me in ways that I needed him to show up, which goes back to the whole, where are you leading me to?
So I think it'd be a great time. I think it's a great time to hear somebody else's perspective. Booza and Paris, y'all did a great job, and I appreciate you guys for y'all perspective. But fellas, you keep lying to these hoes. These goddamn hoes don't want to hear the truth. They don't understand what the truth is. If a woman's gonna sit there and call you a partner, she don't respect you as a man, as a leader. She's not looking for a leader. She's looking exactly what she's asking for, a partner. We're not the same, ladies. Ain't nothing same about me and you. We got different jobs. That's what we call gender roles. Do your job, I'm gonna do my goddamn job as a man. So as a leader, I need to make sure everything is right with you, mentally, emotionally, physically. I need to make sure you on your square, just like I have to be on my square when I come to you. So ladies say they want a leader. Now, do you really want a leader? Because now he's going to have to take that control that your leaders don't want to give up. Stop asking for leaders if you really don't want to relinquish that control. So that means everything, you got to turn everything over to him and believe in God's guidance. And if that means he guides you down the wrong way, temporarily, but he finds a way to get you out of it, then roll with it. Don't be ready to quit on him just because he takes a slide or he takes a fall. Don't. You ride with him to the end. He's going to get you back out of it if he's a good leader, if he's a leader that we all know men can't be. Now, if you mess around messing with a leader, a guy who you said a non-leader, you don't respect him, then why are you dealing with him? Then stop going out to cranky girl. Yeah, I need a real man. No. You pass up a real man because you didn't want his guidance. You pass up a real man because you didn't want to hear what he had to say. You pass up that real man because you felt like he was controlling you. You wanted a man who you could control. Now, if that's the case you want, go out there and get you them good simps. They all out there, a dime a dozen. They on every street corner like a goddamn liquor store. Beta. So keep rolling with those dudes. But if you want a man who's a leader, you got to be willing to give some shit up. And that made me everything. It made me your circle of friends have to change because that leader feels like their friends is being a bad influence on you. That means you may not get to go on them girl trips. Why? Because it's a bad situation can happen if I'm not around. Are y'all willing to make those sacrifices? I'm landed there. I'm done.
I have a question, Hank.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I actually respect you.
Right on.
And I had a question because you just said simps verbatim are a dime. You just said that. So in your opinion, do you believe the majority of men are leaders?
The majority of men has the potential, but no, I don't believe majority of them are. No.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Balance. Good question.
It was an even greater answer.
Thank you for being honest.
Now, when you started out, keep lying to these hoes. That wasn't no good answer.
No, it was.
No,
because a hoe deserves to be lied to. Look, let me explain it. A hoe don't want to hear the truth. They rather hear a lie. A hoe don't want to know the truth.
But why are we always talking about hoes, though, Heek?
That was my whole point. When you
there's as many hoes as there are simps. There's as many hoes. Hold on, Paris. There's as many hoes as there are simps. They run in the same circle. They run together. So you lie to these hoes. A hoe don't deserve a truth. Now, you find a real one, a lady. It's a big difference. She deserves everything you got. But if you want to deal with a hoe, you treat a hoe as such.
Hey, can I ask you a question, man?
Yes, sir, you can.
And this might throw a wrench in a question that Balance asked you first. When she asked you, do you think most men are leaders? And you said no. Is it safe to say that we should probably associate positivity and negativity with leadership? Because as long as somebody is willing to follow you, give you an opportunity to lead, then, I mean, biologically and genetically and the way things are as far as the world between men and women, men are leaders by default. You get what I'm saying? It's just, it might not necessarily.
But did you hear my answer? I said
it might not necessarily be leadership in a positive direction.
They have the potential, though, Booze. They have the potential, but we know what potential is. Not everybody lives up to potential.
Amen.
So they fall short.
The reason why I'm stating that let's say that these men are potential leaders. Let's say that their leadership is positive. You gotta have a population of women that's willing to follow. And one would argue in this society.
I only need one women, Booze. I only need one.
I'm just speaking as a mass of people. That's why I'm saying if men are leaders and men are positive leaders, you still gotta have women that are willing to actually follow these men. And one would argue that the direction society is going is women aren't really compelled to even follow. And it's actually, I think it's growing. I honestly think it's growing. I honestly think independency is increasing instead of codependency or togetherness or teamwork. That's just what I'm seeing. Everybody might disagree, but we're getting to a point where people are not going to even want to get. Women are going to prioritize their lifestyle over marriage.
Leave them to their own demise then. I don't care about them other women. As long as the one woman I'm dealing with, I'm in a relationship with, I'm going to marry, as long as she's on board, I'm good.
I don't care.
If every man who's what they call themselves a leader find that right woman, you be good. And guess what? Hopefully the woman could go out and teach these other women. I don't believe in a man teaching a woman how to be a woman. No. I believe the elder women need to go out and teach these women. And us elder men need to teach these young boys to be men. That's our job.
I think we should care.
I think some men use leader to substitute the word subjugate. See, to a lot of men, they want to subjugate hoes. See, that's why they're super focused on hoes. They don't want to talk about good women because that requires accountability. And that puts the mirror up to everybody. So let's talk about the hoes and how we can shame them for who they who they choose, and let's get them to let's try to subjugate them. And I like how Hink made that line of separation. Hoes and simps over there, and the other folks that's on something real, let's have that conversation. I love that. Thank you for saying that. It didn't scare me. I love that. Hoes and simps over there. Yes, all day long. Thank you.
Right on.
And the only reason why I was saying that is because you could take someone like, I don't know if you can say this word, apologize, JR, if it get flagged. No, actually, you can't say it. I checked on it a while ago. Hitler was a leader. You know, he was a leader. He was a good leader. But it wasn't for a positive end game. Most people would argue that it wasn't for a positive end game. But the fact that he had a group of people, a population willing to get behind him, it didn't make a difference. I'm saying back in the days when submission was a thing that women was okay with, as a mass, as a whole, following a man, marrying a man and following him, just regardless of the situation, just sticking through to the end. It didn't matter. He wasn't evaluated on his leadership. It was just a thing to do, was to get behind your man, stand behind your husband for the sake of the good of the family, no matter what. But we live in a society today where you can make choices to deviate and depart from the union. So that's why I say men are artists. They might not the women might not be intrigued by his leadership style or where the direction that he's leading them in. We in a society now where you get to pick and choose that. We didn't have that before. And I think a lot of people are they're finding it difficult to migrate from those old times and accept that, hey, look, in modern life, women can decide whether or not you're a sufficient leader now. And they can bow out and say, well, this is irreconcilable differences. I'm out. So I think we got to take that into account.
Oh, man. So to Bruiser, I was actually going to use Hitler as an example to your point, because, of course, there are leaders that aren't good and productive. Why are we talking about them? We know that's not the point. We're talking about good, productive leaders who are going to lead a family, obviously. So we're talking about are most men that. And let's just look at the results of the community, of just America. We don't got to go to the world, just America in it, in a whole itself, America. So I didn't want to forget my point because you just going way left with the Hitler thing. But
the reason why I did, because you still got to take in it. It's the upbringing, man. If we live in a fatherless crisis, and women opting out of the relationships and becoming single moms, and of course men got something to do with it. How can you say men aren't leaders whenever you have a direct influence on whether or not they're going to turn out to be a leader based on your decisions that you make and who you open your womb up to, that could drastically have a impact on the trajectory on whether he's going to be a leader when it's time to lead anyways.
There are women that made horrible decisions, right? But let's keep it 100, okay? You asked about dependability, Bruiser. I'm going to talk about the women that I talk to. These are professional women, gone to school, travel the world, speak several languages, and they start telling me about how they grew up, and grandma put up with this, and granddaddy did this to grandma. Then at the funeral, we found out he had kids all over the place. They're looking at that like, and I want to sign up for that. I think for a lot of Black men, you all have to realize that those days where grandma just signed up whole willy-nilly and was stuck in the house having babies and took his crap for years just so she could keep a piece of family together for the sake of having a piece of man, those days are over. You all have got to show and prove. We live on social media where people go to the beach. I'm at the beach. Like, I'm going to the grocery store, like everybody's showing and proving. So when you get in a relationship, I'm talking about a real bona fide relationship where stakes are, I'm not talking about hoes and simps. I'm talking about real people that want to get married and start something special and long lasting. You have to, you all can't intrinsically expect a woman to just give you something, give you respect, give you submission just on the strength that you're a man. You have to show that you're a winner. You have to show that you know how to guide. You have a place to guide her. You're doing.
Let me respond to her because she addressed it real quick.
What you mentioned had nothing to do with dependability, though. Even when you're talking about a man stepping out,
it is dependability. If he's all over the place having babies all over the place, can I depend on men and on a greater collectively? Can I depend on them? That goes into how they make decisions.
Okay, so let me make the point why it's not dependability, and this is coming from a person whose granddad has 12 in-house and they living outside. It's not dependability because they still were doing what they were supposed to do. You're at that point, you're speaking for your relationship with him for the children. And you can't speak for the children and how he showed up for the children, as opposed to that. What you're speaking to is you guys' intimate involvement and how he had his relationship with you. Never once, even in those conversations of the men being in the 50s, 60s, 70s, in the between the 40s and the 60s, when Black people had the highest marriage rates, never once was there ever a conversation of a man not providing for his family, not protecting for his family, not showing up in ways that he was supposed to be for his family, not going to church, not being a part of his community. Those are things that are dependability. Not and I hate to even say this in a way of quote unquote kind of like pushing past the cheating. You're talking about a relationship hiccup that, you know, people go through. That ain't even speaking to all the women who had 2 or 3 other kids running around the house that didn't look like nobody. So if we gonna, you can't merge cheating to actual dependability, because back then, even you said it yourself, their responsibilities were very finite. They had very specific responsibilities. Men go out, they be the breadwinner, they come home, get grandma the check, and then everything else is what it is. They wait till Friday, everybody kick it. But that's not dependability, because he went and slept with somebody else. Like, as long as house was taken care of, which it was at that time, that was still being dependable. I don't get how that correlates.
And Mr. Cole, I gotta say this because I kind of take a little bit offense to it, and just try to stick with me on this one. You stated that, you know, your grandmother or somebody, you know, your grandfather or someone had a grandfather and he had all these kids in the neighborhood and stuff. And then you made a statement saying, why would a woman want to sign up for that?
Oh no, that wasn't my granddaddy.
Okay. But you stated, why would a woman want to sign up for that? But I think there's a lack of appreciation for what men day in and day out, generation after generation have to sign up for. Because I'm gonna tell you, we had to sign up for monogamy. If we want to go back, you can go even further back with the things we've been having to sign up for. And nobody's appreciating that. So what women are doing and what society is doing is they pushing men into this bottleneck to the point where we love you, we appreciate it, we're willing to do these things, but it's just real difficult because it's not our nature originally. It's these initial terms and the standards that the society is pushing on us and how we're supposed to behave as men. It was never our natural state, and we're bending, and you guys should be appreciative of us bending. What a lot of the stuff we're signing up for, this feminism, this LGBTQ, nothing against it. Our children are having to deal with this. We're still signing up for it. We're signing fucking birth certificates when it ain't even ours. You know, we're signing up for all this stuff. So all this stuff about why would a woman sign up for it, you got to miss me with that, because we can sign up for a lot of bullshit. We're probably gonna continue to sign up for
it. Not these women. The women that I talk to have money. They travel. They don't have to sign up for crap. They don't. They don't have to sign up for a man just to say they have a man. They don't have to. They want one. They would love to be married, but they're not signing up for what they saw in their individual families happen. And with
Can I
that
ask
being
you a question?
said, some men expect just in trend. I'm walking in like a man, and you should be glad that I showed up. And you should follow my guidance just because I have a manhood. Excuse me. No, I don't. No, I don't. I have to show and prove and show you that I'm a good companion. I'm going to make a good wife and a mother. You need to show me what manhood is and why I should hitch my wagon to you. That's just adult
We
conversation.
built you a country
I got
off of our sweat and our back
So you a man. You
and
need
our
to show
blood.
me that you're a man.
You got
Yeah.
other women out of other countries wish they can be in your situation. And
What
you're
that
going to
have
sit
to
here
do
and
with
tell
me?
us men over here in America, and we
What does
still
that
got to
have to do
show
with
you
me?
something.
My husband showed me he was a man, and I was like,
We signed up. We signed up so you can be able to get your own paycheck.
who
And now
signed
you're
up?
gonna return it and throw it in our face. Say, I don't need you because I got my own paycheck.
Who
You
signed up
see
for
the
what? I'm
irony
sorry.
in that?
Who signed up for what? I'm sorry. What was that?
You said that I got my own money, or we got our own money. What I'm
A
saying
lot of
is,
Black women, yes, they do.
what I'm saying is there was a time where you didn't have that, and we had to sign up for you to have that.
Who is we signed up for
I
where?
got a question.
No.
I'm talking about men and women.
No. I need, when you say that, what are you talking about? We signed up for what? Who is we? And what did you sign up for?
There was laws in history that prevented you from even having a check or having the money you have or having the things you have, period.
Black women been working since slavery, since Reconstruction.
Slavery wasn't the beginning of time, sister.
I said since Reconstruction, we've been working outside of the home as domestics, maids.
I think you limited yourself to a part in history,
No,
so
I'm
you
trying to
don't
get you
have
to prove
to
your point,
understand the
honey.
points I'm
I'm
making.
trying to get you to
So
prove your
I'll
point.
digress.
What has
I'll
Black
allow
men
somebody
done?
else to comment.
What legislation did Black men get done for Black women? One piece.
First
That
of all,
Black
I never
Black
stated
men
anything
got for
about
Black
a
women.
black
No.
man. You made it about race so you can strengthen your argument about
No,
our
I'm
ability
asking
to
you to
make
prove
changes
your
in
point.
society, knowing
I'm
that
asking you to prove your
black
point,
men
and you
had a
cannot.
disadvantage
You
in
can't
that
prove
process.
you
So
can't
you
prove
want to
the
put the
point I'm asking.
Hey,
conversation
one at a
around
time,
black
y'all. Hold on.
men
Hold on,
so you
guys.
can
Hold
strengthen
on.
your argument.
Moving
Hold on.
on,
One
but
at
you
a
can't
time.
prove
One
your
at
point,
a time.
baby. Nice try.
I got a question, and
Go
this
ahead,
is
Paul.
for anybody on the panel. What does a woman having money got to do with her being in a relationship with a man? When did money replace a man?
Because there's no romance without finance. You have to pay for a place to stay. You have to take care of children. Are we adults here or are we 15? It takes money to live, honey.
But that's
So
not the case.
you just had Tyler Perry tell Black women they need to take a man who can pay the light bill, but she has to pay the mortgage. Excuse me, there's daycare, there's elderly relatives, there's sick relatives. God forbid we have a child that's sick, and you want me to sit up here and do everything. And not only that, but I have to take off of my job that helps carry the family to have the kids too. And he only gets to take the light bill. Y'all playing. No, I'm not telling Black women to sign up
Well,
for that.
that wouldn't be a problem. That wouldn't be a problem, Nicole, if you was all about one pot. If you all about one pot, that won't be a problem.
Right. Here's the issue with what you're saying. If I was a woman who had no money, I can go get a man. So why is it that when I'm a woman with money, all of a sudden the money replaces the man? That's where I don't understand. Oh, wait a minute.
I didn't say that. You're making up stuff. I didn't say that.
I didn't make up anything.
Yeah, you did. I didn't say that, baby.
All right, y'all. Let's do one at a time. Okay, let's do one at a time so we can the audience can hear.
Right. I don't speak to nobody directly. I don't speak to nobody's personal. I speak in general. So I hope don't nobody feel hit. So this is what I said. If I was a woman who had no money, people would be pushing me to go get a man. But since I'm a woman who got some money, right? And I'm speaking for a woman who I make more than the average woman. I also have my own place. I've been on my own since 19. I come from a 2-parent household, so we can run down the resume, right? Like I'm licensed and, like gonna go back to school, got a whole lot going on for myself, and I still have a man. So what I'm asking is, right, as a woman who has no children, a woman who's well-traveled, a woman who has a multitude of experiences, extremely educated, with me having my own money, why can't I have a man? Because I got my own money. That's I don't need a man and I don't have to deal with all of these X, Y, and Z experiences. I'm excused from regular relationship dynamics because I have money. But if I did not have no money as a woman, it's permissible for me to have a man and have all of the relationship dynamics that come along with it. Him cheating, him lying, him abusing me, him weaponizing his money, him leading me into a hellhole. I can do that because I ain't got no money. But when I get some money, all of a sudden, I shouldn't have to deal with anything coming with the man. I don't have to be a parent with him. I don't have to mitigate money with him. I don't have to go through trials and tribulations with him. I don't have to go through deaths with him or anything because I got money. I'm a woman with money. I don't understand how that correlates.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
It's called one word, compatibility, which is one word that Black men love to run away from. Black men who want to subjugate professional Black women and to getting them to submit. It's called compatibility, baby. And you, college educated, come from a two-parent home, that's something you probably would have discussed with your parents about compatibility. And most fathers would tell their daughters, don't go out here and marry a bum. I've invested a lot into your future. And I want to make sure we continue that. What is wrong with Black women having standards and Black men too, saying I want to be able to provide for my family and do something for the next generation that I didn't get and give something to my kids? What is this conversation about? This is not all on Black women. This is not all, well, because she has money, she's trying to exempt herself from relationships. No, it's about compatibility, baby. And I'm no longer sitting up here telling Black women that because you're successful, you should just go ahead and settle.
So would you give that same grace, Nicole? Would you give that same grace to a man though?
I absolutely will. Grace on what specifically?
Exactly what you're talking about. The shoes on the other foot. The woman had less. And the man had more.
I'm glad you asked that question.
I don't want to settle for your ass. I don't want you don't come with enough benefits.
Absolutely. Men have the right to qualify who they marry. When I first came on YouTube, you know what I did, Hink? For the first 2 years, I told Black women, what about those blue collar guys that you're overlooking? What about those guys? And then I had to sit back and think. I'm like, okay, if a woman is making 6 figures, all right, and she comes across a blue collar guy, all right, if they're making the same amount of money in the same socioeconomic status and they are experiencing the same things, their lifestyle is similar, that's good. That means they're compatible. Are they compatibility? Great, right? For example, what we don't talk about a lot is when you're in a different socioeconomic, we're talking upper middle class, your lifestyle is going to be different. You're not going to be comfortable going to the hookah bar every chance you get. You might actually want to go have lunch at the country club. But somebody who cannot afford to give you that lifestyle will have a problem with that. But we don't want to talk about that. We're just supposed to marry. Excuse me, I'm sorry. We're just supposed to marry each other on the same different socioeconomic status, and the Black woman specifically is supposed to accept that. What I'm talking about with dependability in marriage, for those who are actually married and actually have experienced marriage, when you actually have children, a lot of people get married and they go, yeah, we'll do the 50-50, right? They get married, they do the 50-50, but then when they come home, the husband got his feet kicked up and he's chilling, and she has to come home, cook, see about the kids, help the kids with the homework, clean, have sex, and keep that whole situation going. And now you're telling her she still has to be the breadwinner too, and now you want to turn around and ask for guidance. And I'm saying, when does it stop? When do we hold the men accountable? I hold women accountable. That's what I do. But when we have these conversations, it's got to be balanced. Because this whole, well, she's out of this whole thing about money and guidance, you all got to put that in perspective.
Well, see, this is what I'm saying, right?
People that are married can talk about marriage because we lived it and we do it every single day. Those that are not.
That's funny how they went back to my earlier point. But I will say that if having money made you compatible, women who have no money should not date millionaires. If having money made you compatible, Black men need to stop dating Black women with no job. If having money makes you compatible with another person. We're talking about class. Then people need to date within their class proximity. That means homeless people need to be with homeless people. And basically, you're talking about a classes idea, something that happened in Roman ancient times. And, you know, they do it in Britain and they do it in England now still. But that's not America, right? And so nobody is saying that Black women should settle. I don't believe in that. As a Black woman, and nobody is saying that Black women should just take anything. I don't think that was ever said. Even with Tyler Perry, his verbiage was very misconstrued. People heard, oh, you need to pay a bill, and Black women got in an uproar when the whole point of the message was you need to pick a partner that fits your soul. That was literally the whole point of the narrative. But people are so money triggered because Black women have went through the ups and downs of picking a man that don't even resonate with their soul at all, and they took some dick over dollars. Now everybody else got to get the whole speech about what women should deal with X, Y, and Z. The only thing that I asked, when did we start using money as the representative to put in Black women's bank account to say she no longer needs the protection, provision, submission, the companionship of a Black man? When did money become the thing that we say, put it in her checking account, now she don't need no man? Because the last time I checked, Meghan Markle made a lot of money before she married Prince Harry. And last time I checked, even now, Beyonce was Beyonce before she was with Sean Carter and she became Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter. She still was Beyonce. When did having money, Rihanna, currently a billionaire, married to a millionaire, right? She in the bees. He ain't never gonna get there, but he ain't never got to work again. And we champion a lot of things, but I just want to understand, as a Black woman who is educated, who has my own everything in my name, not my mama's. If I were broke, why would you push me towards a man? But you're on the same token saying, you ain't finna date no broke man. But then when I got money, you saying I don't need no man. But now all of a sudden the man should still be taking you. But we're calling ourselves equals. We're calling ourselves partners. We're saying that we are on their level. We're saying that we're better than them. We're saying that we're more educated. We're X, Y, and Z. But when we get the money, we ain't got to deal with the man. And we're excused from doing the work. We're excused from going through the X, Y, and Z. We're excused from doing whatever else it is that happens in regular, normal relationships, aside from cheating. You can deal with that. You can deal with a bad business deal. You can deal with a person got an addiction. You can deal with somebody suffering, whatever. All I'm asking is a Black woman with no money, she could go through hell and hot water, but a Black woman with money, all of a sudden, she better than because she got money. What stops her from having these experiences because she has money? What stops her from being with a Black man? The same women who are saying we're not protected for, we're not provided for. What is stopping her because she got money from being with a Black man?
I'm about to tell you. The thing that stopped her.
Said that. You heard something nobody even said.
Hold on real quick. Let me respond.
It's too good to be power. Y'all hear what you want to hear because you want to be male identified or whatever you want to do and get the claps of men.
No,
I'm trying to be balanced here. And that is not what I said. I never in a
It's not that. It's not that.
I've always told women the more money that they make, the harder it's going to be to find a man that makes
it when you mentioned country
club. One at a time, y'all. One at a time.
You said it when you mentioned the country.
No, I never said that. I never said that.
Food and your donuts and your cake at the country club.
The Black women are too good.
You stated
to find a man they want a man to provide and protect. What they're asking for the man is to be able to do his part.
You said it. It was a lifestyle.
I always said that, and I said
you said you got to taste the money.
You're lying. You're lying.
Hold on. Let me. I'll let you talk. I didn't interrupt you.
That's not what I said.
You said you got to taste the money.
That's not what I said.
Okay, y'all. One at a time.
Money limit is limiting your options.
Hold on, Sunday energy.
And now you got to limit. Now you got a limited lifestyle. So now you got you're limiting your ability to grow with a man from scratch or from a level playing field, because you got a taste of this lifestyle. Or you see that you observing this lifestyle and you want it, and you willing to disqualify all men who ain't need. And if you able to provide it for yourself, you willing to disqualify every man who ain't able to provide it out the gate. Just like you did when you disqualified all men when Lyndon B. Johnson came with the Great Society out. You cast all the men out, all the Black men out, knowing that all the regulations and laws prevented black men from flourishing and being able to compete with the things that the Great Society Act was going to give you. So you didn't want to stay in the trenches with us. And now you're talking about what you want to sign up for. You just best be lucky. You know what? I'm not going to even say it. I'm not going to even say it.
Can y'all share the stage?
Please don't, because you didn't read it and you don't know what that means.
They ain't passing that goddamn mic.
Can y'all let some? I would love to hear what Marcus has to say. Can y'all like share the stage a bit? I mean, I really don't like when we want to turn into the victim Olympics between men and women. I don't want that for us. I don't.
Thank you,
Balance. We gotta make it a little balanced in here. Please, can we share the stage? I want to say that.
You guys, balance has spoken, you guys. Let's get back to the sunny energy. Go ahead, Marcus.
I had a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich with some Fruitopia, some really good juice. That's what I was thinking about when y'all was going back and forth, some of it. So I might have missed some. What was the actual question that you asked before this, JR, that we was responding to?
Let me get it back. It was women don't trust men's guidance.
Oh, damn, we even killed that one. So
You want to take
he answered that one.
Yeah. You answered. It just kind of just went over a little bit. I mean, it's still relevant. I mean, we was
You said what, Paris?
Do you want to take a swing at my question?
Yeah. What's your question? When was what? No, go ahead.
What stops a black woman with money from having a man?
Ego and friends.
What does having money got to do with having a man?
So public perception, ego, and friends. That would probably be the thing that I would say doesn't. The public perception that so as a collective, at some point in time, as black people, we bought into the Joneses, and keeping up with them has become more important than keeping a family. So if you feel that your counterpart doesn't make enough or look right next to you, we in a position where, and I don't even think it's that many people making this much more money. What I think is actually happening is the position titles, right? So that's more perception than anything. I don't think the divide in the finance. I think the last time they checked, black men specifically are making like
more, and they're making more. Yeah, about $3,000 to $6,000 more on average. The black woman makes approximately $32,000 to $35,000, the average numbers, and then the black man is roughly making around $40,000 to $45,000. There's still a difference, and the specific woman, right, that is black, that does make over six figures. The reason as to why it is harder for her is because most black men who are in her tax bracket are already married.
That would make sense, because I think a million more men, black men specifically, are married than the women. So I got a solution for it, but we ain't gonna talk about it today. So what I think the problem might be is perception, though. So the women who might make $36,000 might make it from an air conditioned job where they wear a nice outfit, right? Where they're presentable, where they drink Starbucks every morning, where they can present a position of high esteem. And the men who may make similar money in that same demographic might not be of the same social class per their standards. And because of that, that might keep those people separated, because they can't see eye to eye, as far as, if I take him with me, I don't feel like he represents me well amongst the company of my other white collar friends or white collar co-workers. And honestly, the way this country is set up, black men in mass are not all in white collar jobs, right? So if we're gonna
warehouses are outside. They work in blue collar jobs.
So we're gonna like still try and make a run at this. That stigma has to be removed. I know the power couple title with both people being an attorney and a doctor and a lawyer would be the ideal couple, but that's not the specific position we in, right? So I think Tyler Perry's point it made sense to me when I heard it, because I wasn't listening for the buzzword, right? What he essentially was saying, if the man had good character, right? He specifically said if he has good character, if he can I'm just gonna add some other stuff as to what I was hearing because I can't quote him exactly. If he loves you, right? If he's trustworthy, if he's honest, if he's hitting every other metric that you could think of that you can provide a good life, and the reason you saying we can't be together is because you make $15,000 more than him, that's ridiculous, honestly.
I'm sorry, Marcus, where you finished?
Yeah. So, well, let me just add this last part. And it's not ridiculous because women shouldn't have standards and men should never make money and all those things. It's ridiculous because that's $45,000 more than you would have had prior to you being by yourself. So that negates that. Do you have more or less money? Because now you have two people splitting the bill. If that's what you're doing, I don't know. And if you're gonna be single for the rest of your life for $15,000, I personally would feel sorry for that person because it's much more to life than some money. It's much more to life than a couple extra trips in the span of that lifestyle. It's much more to life than just a couple extra, like eating at a tier up. So you had 3 stars, you go to 4-star restaurants. An extra star in a restaurant is not worth being single for the rest of your life. It's just not. Our biological imperative as humans and all animals, even single cell organisms, is to procreate and push our genes on to the next, like to get into the next generation, right? And in order to do that effectively as humans, we need both parents. So if you're gonna remain single and have no kids, you kind of failed your biological imperative. That's how I'm looking at it, for men and women.
I see what you're saying, Marcus, and I want to say that that's not the majority of the issues we're seeing. Like, we're not, I know people say this on social media. Women are like, oh, he has to make more. But really, in actuality, people are saying he has to have this character. I don't want him lying, cheating, disrespecting me, abusing me. That's what women are saying. The majority of women aren't saying he has to make this much more than me. It's like, does he have the character? And I love, again, I'm gonna quote the Bible again because it's Sunday. I love the scripture when they say you'll know them by their fruit. So what does that mean? Like, you're going to know somebody by their character. It's not about how much money they earn per se. It's about who they are. And it's about what they accomplish in their life, what their goals are, what they're working towards. So it's like, who are you spiritually? Not if you make 6 figures, you could lose that tomorrow. So it's not all about the money. The money's a part of it. Don't get me wrong. The money is a part of it, but that's not all it is. Because you can find a man with good character who's making 65, 70 and help him get to 7 figures if he has that character. But if he doesn't and he's already making 7 figures, it doesn't matter. So we're not just focused on money. We need to focus on character. And will this man make a great husband and a great father to the children that I want to reproduce? That's where the focus is. Go ahead.
I think that was Tyler Perry's point, though. What you're saying.
But actually, like, right, the issue is though balance. And listen, I absolutely agree with you. You know, I respect you. I respect things like that. But aside from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, we're talking about that money isn't the only premise, but women say it without saying it. Like, you can see a woman go to a brunch spot, and her idea of the man that she's looking to leave with is one who appears to have money, right? So it unconsciously we're saying it. And even when the derivative comes up about a woman who is well off, when she's doing well for herself, the idea is that the only man that will be good enough for her is one who can sustain her lifestyle. And the crazy thing about that was that Tyler Perry's actual whole point was what you said. You shouldn't focus on the money. You should focus on his character. But again, we see how the reactions have had a very loud projectile into the whole social media environment. And again, I'm not saying that anything you're saying is wrong, but I am saying the only reason why I'm pushing back on it is because you see it in how women mitigate in regular everyday life. A lot of times, even, and this is my last point, even with the conversation come up of a woman on TikTok, she was going viral for going outside dressed in her natural. Like, she looked a mess to her, right? But there were so many men going up to her and approach her. there were women literally in every blog site comments saying the only reason why she was getting the men approaching her is because she looked low maintenance. That is the idea that is perpetuated, right? And at some point, social media meets reality because it's real people who have signed up. It ain't no bots behind every account. It's real people who are having these conversations. So if a woman is online saying it, why do we feel like she don't feel that way in real life?
So to answer your point, Paris, do you think like that?
I'm not every woman.
I know I'm speaking about you
very differently from most women.
All right.
I'm only in a lot of cases.
So my point here is that's great if women are like that. It's great. It is great. And the reason it's great is because then you could easily disqualify them as being a woman that you would choose for your wife. Easily. That is a wonderful thing. You don't have to waste time. There are women that think that way. Those aren't women you want to raise a family with anyway. So what are we talking about? You know what I mean? So it's like, I think, let me finish, because I think we so often, like Hank was saying, simps are dime a dozen. Why are we going to spend time on the people we don't want? Like, if we know these men and women aren't what we're aiming for, they don't need to be the center of our conversations all the time. If we're looking for A1 people, again, I always say start with self, be that in what you seek and what you desire, be it first. People always want to miss over that. They want to skip over it. Be it first and then seek it. So, but people just want to say, oh, well, women this and men this, and this is where it turns into a gender war. It's like, it's not about men and women. It's about the quality of woman and man that you want, that you need to attract. And if they're not that, on to the next one. We don't have to talk about women who are gold diggers. There's going to be gold diggers until the end of time. Period. Oh, that's never, ever, ever, not you, Paris. That's never, ever,
no,
ever.
I'm not talking about me. I'm saying that's not gold.
I know, Paris, but please let me finish my point. Thank you so much. So, but there's always going to be gold diggers. And I'm telling you right now, that's easy to see and disqualify them. We don't have to say, oh, she shouldn't be like this. She should want a good man. She don't have it in her next. I love when Hank is always like, on to the next, on to the next. That's what men and women should be doing. When that man doesn't have the character, when that woman doesn't have the character, on to the next. We don't have to settle for these people, and we don't have to get on social media and complain about them. They may be the majority. I don't know. I don't have a count for how many of them are this way and how many of them are not. I just know that people aren't doing enough repetitions. If that man isn't right, next. If that woman isn't right, next. And I'm saying nip it in the bud early, fast. I know a lot of women that have never dated 100 men. People will be like, that's a lot. I'm not saying she's sleeping with them. I'm not saying she's getting money for them. Just eliminating these people and getting to the next man. They'll date 10 men and they're all horrible men. And they're like, oh, men are so terrible. You dated 10 men. Like, what are you talking about? You don't even have enough experience to say that. So I just think we need to, oh, my phone's about to die. I've been on here so long. I just think we need to on to the next with a lot of people and stop focusing on the people that don't have the character and focus on the ones that do. That's it.
So I will say that that's not gold digging. We're talking about women who have status and they're making their Black women specifically, they're shallow in their dating pool, which is already shallow. So what I'm saying is, right, even the reason why we're having that conversation is because those women are influencing the other women. They're literally the idea, and this has been pushed for years. Feminism, like 40 years or some odd years old. If you get money, you don't need a man. That was the whole basis of the conversation. That was the whole thing around it. Even when Mrs. Nicole was talking about it, she was saying how she has her female friends, and they're like, because she has money, because they have money, they're well off, they're degree, they're X, Y, and Z, that they don't have to deal with, right? And my thing is, it's like, well, yes, you do. You can pick and choose whatever man it is, right? Just because he's a six-figure man don't mean he can't be an abuser. Just because he's a six-figure man don't mean that that he's actually a leader. The idea is a lot of times we have this mentality that money is the determinant for how we respect people. And we have this idea that money is the answer for what they are. When it shows, studies literally show majority of wealthy people inherited their wealth. So the idea that Black women are hustling hard to get it off the ground and get it off our backs going into relationships with these men who are also six-figure, thinking that because he got money, he's a leader. No. Because he got money, he got good character. No. Because he got money, he X, Y, and Z. Like, balance, I'm actually agreeing with you. But the real reason why we keep having these conversations is because there's only an echo chamber from the size of Black women. Other cultures they don't fathom that because their reality don't look like ours. Other cultures don't have it to where the women are making majority of the decisions. Other cultures don't have it where majority of their homes are ran by women. So that's the reality. We know that in Black culture, Black women will make a lot of dominating decisions and we influence each other. And if the influence is if you get some money, you don't need a man, I'm asking, how the hell do those two things even correlate?
I want to say this really quickly because just like Hank was talking about, simps will never get leaders to follow them. It's never going to happen. It's never gonna happen. Like a simp's not going to inspire, encourage. I don't even have the word a man to do something different and to become a simp. Like that's just not how a woman with an OnlyFans is never going to get me to have an OnlyFans. It's never going to happen. Period. Not in this lifetime. So all I want to say is that if you're strong and confident and know who you are and have knowledge of self, go find somebody that has knowledge of self. And for the women you're talking about, we have young, impressionable women, then it's our job to be on social media and teach them. It's our job to do that. And that's what we should be doing. I just don't want to have any more gender wars. I don't want to talk about women in a negative light or men in a negative light. I want to really broadcast people that have knowledge of self so we can have more of those people. That's really all I can say.
All right.
I want to say really succinctly, if you allow me, Lapeef, because I hate it when everybody's on Black women's tops as if Black women are the only ones complaining. If we read books, there's a book by Lori Gottlieb, who is actually Jewish, who is complaining that men, since feminism, not just Black men in general, non-Black men are not making enough. They're complaining about being breadwinners. But because we have these conversations amongst Black people, we think it's just Black women. That is a misconception. Black women, more than any other group, is over 51% of Black women who are in committed relationships. It doesn't differentiate if they're married, but definitely living together. Black women are breadwinners. But we want to put that on our top, like they have no right to ask for a man who's able to bring what she brings to the table. The only time I get on women, Hank, to your question, I get on women about he needs to make this certain amount of money because I help women convert to traditionalism. They want to get in that traditional lifestyle. I tell them, what difference does it make? If he can cover the bills, you need to do what, and he meets all the other metrics that you have in place. Why does he need to put you in a gated community after you say I do? Is he able to take care of the family and meet those responsibilities? Then go for it. No, they're looking for a lifestyle. And I'm like, baby girl, you are going to be single for a long time because you are money driven, lifestyle, hypergamy this, luxury that. That's the wrong mindset for any woman that's trying to get married. So I don't want my position misrepresented. Before I leave this panel, I want women to know that marriage is not about money, but it is an important component, because without money, you can't pay the babysitter for the job that you required her to have in order to get married, that 50-50 relationship that you bought. In order for you all to have a traditional lifestyle, it requires money. Bank of America requires money for that mortgage every month. We can try to dance around it as much as we can, but classism does come up. It rears its ugly head. And it's easy for someone that's working class, working poor to say, yeah, she should take my light bill money, because you've never been outside of the country. You've never been anywhere, and done anything outside of your immediate neighborhood. So it's easy for you to tell women what they should do, but you've never done nothing. I guarantee you, when you hit a certain tax bracket, you're going to be like, don't tell me what I should settle for. And that's for men and women. I guarantee you're going to look at it totally different. You're going to be like, this matters. And we don't even talk about the family and how the family structure changes when money is involved. You don't even. So I hate it when people put that on their tops, Lapeef, on Black women's tops, like we're just walking around here, the only ones considering money. We have to consider how we're going to take care of these kids. You talk about women being on welfare, but then on the next hand, you want her to just accept anything. We can't do that. We can't do that. Congratulations to all the women that are working hard and doing their things, and the men who are working hard and doing the things. We need to find each other, couple up, and get together. But I am not getting ready here, sitting up here telling women that they should accept less, when a lot of Black men will tell you, I did accept less. But you know what, Miss Nicole, when that relationship goes bad, they're still going to blame me and say I should have chose better. Well, why did you choose a man that only brought the light bill? Well, why did you have a baby with a man that couldn't do more for you? Well, it's always going to be the Black woman's fault. And I'm saying, if we want a realistic view of how to fix the Black family, it can't always be Black women. I need people who have so much to say about Black women's tops and so much to say about Black men. Read some books on Black men and what we've had to go through, and read some books on what Black women have had to go through, and have a well-rounded, educated point of view before you just start saying stuff and regurgitating stuff you done heard people say on social media.
Ma'am, they not gonna blame the Black woman for the marriage going bad. I promise you that. They're gonna look at that man and he's gonna have to take that goddamn L. The Black woman ain't gonna take that L. And let me say this: if your women who you are that are clients of yours, if you get them to buy that one pop theory, this won't be a problem. They'll take that blue collar man as long as they willing to bring their money together as a collective. Because look, you gave me your body. Why can't I have that paper? I gave you my last name. Why can't I have that paper? We come together as everything else. Then let's come together financially. And we're not going to be playing, this is your rainy day fund, this is my money, it's your money. No, we together. Let's bring our money together and see what happens.
So Miss Nicole,
show them what we're going through. We still going through that right now today.
So Miss Nicole, I got a kind of unique perspective. The majority of my life, almost every, like I say 80% of the flights I was on was private flights, right? Getting like the 5-star, 4-star, all of those type of amenities, because I was playing basketball, right? And the thing I can say is, after a while, it's just stuff. Like it does not mean the same thing. The most valuable thing and experience I've ever had in my life was watching my kids be born. And I've been at the pinnacle of like sport and parade celebrations, going to the White House for that stuff. But it don't even compare to when my child was born. It don't compare to when my kids come run up to me in the house. Like, I think it's hard to describe to people that's aspiring to something, right? But if you spend your whole life to get to that point, and it could just be anecdotal for myself, but it's not worth it to sacrifice everything that could be for your life for a lifestyle. That's all I was saying.
I also add to that, as a woman, like I said, who has money, who is well traveled, I don't get no better joy than being around my friends, developing their families, being around my boyfriend. Like, when you have done all of these things, even with the money, when them 4 walls close in on you, it's a very heavy silence. Nothing is more important than family. Nothing is more important than community. Nothing is more important than, and the thing is, the money will come. But it's so crazy to me how we push this idea on, you got to be a man. You better do this. You better do that. Men don't get excuses. But when you hold women to the same fire, the ones who are expecting them to be equals, it's always a lot of heavy pushback and always unsettling. I don't think that Black women deserve to just have to deal with or put up with anything. Again, I'm a Black woman, but I will say that Black women have a very warped mindset in regards to how we look at money dynamics when it comes to relationships. Because I don't care what other culture you go into, those women work. And to be a housewife in today's society, in the American economy, you are considered privileged. You are the upper echelon of the economy. So the reality is, right, like, we have to be very careful and mindful what Balance has said about the things that we push and what we are telling each other, because we are responsible for those that are around us and what they feel as if that they are and they're capable of doing. Because again, if it were a man, we wouldn't tell a man, well, if she got money, then you need to date her. We would tell a man, regardless, be there for that woman. So I don't think that we should be telling black women the same thing. If he ain't got no money, don't date him. No, like, if you can take care of yourself, you should be able to do that without that man. You should be able to do that if that man was still there and he got sick. If that man was still there and he lost his job. If that man was still there, he became disabled. If that, whatever the case may be, if you can't represent for the test of time in the marriage, which you don't need to be there. He don't need you. He can do better than you. Black men can do better than that. And the same way we want black women to do better, I want black men to do better too. Stop listening to these women tell you that you have to accept them for who they are, but they putting provisions and conditions on how you come.
All right. Let me get to these super chats and then we'll close out. Just for my 4 cents, $2 says black women don't understand followership. I am inspired to $2 says stop talking submission if you know you fall short. Just for my cents, $5 says if she is constantly blowing the budget, not following directions, does she have a good followership skills? You have to know how to follow. We ain't submitting to shortfalls. Me ain't happy with shortfalls. We ain't submitting. We ain't going for the light bill garbage. So women of today want the pookies, Ray, low frequency men, but they're not women to admit that ugly truth. And deep down, they know it. Come on, Bruiser. How come Marcus White and Jay get what Paris is saying? Was Adam a good leader or Eve not a good follower? Wife equals woman, and feminine energy. What y'all think? Fatty says there's a billion of women put there that want partnerships and 50-50. Most men are not leaders and most women on the West are not followers. They should team up together and build as a team. Team Fatty is compatibility is the game. If a woman is broke, she should date broke man. Broke women still feel entitled to a man that is well off. That's what Paris is saying. Black women have never in history been more disrespectful and appreciative, ungrateful, selfish, and narcissistic, while thinking they are above men because they have a paycheck, which is why no LTR/MRG. Almost there. Marcus Evans, y'all do not realize the coach contradicted herself a bunch of times, right? And she's making excuses for women and their nonsense again. Paris, your MVP on Sunday show. Paris cooking like an MF. Fire emoji. I want to thank everybody that has contributed to the platform. Appreciate it. I do want to, been reading, you guys, been reading a little bit. So I do have a takeaway that I'm going to read this. Never miss a chance to stop and make a memory. Sometimes you may even want to orchestrate those memories, the moments yourself. A man's real possession is his memory. Is nothing else. Is he rich? And nothing else is he poor. That's from Alexander Smith. So just thought I'd bring that up. It was a great show, you guys. Go ahead.
That was good stuff, John. And Adam was a terrible leader.
Adam was a terrible leader. Got to bring that
when
up.
They said, was Adam a leader or was Eve a bad follower? Adam was a terrible leader. He had instructions that was given to him. He should have stopped any of that stuff from happening.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we was surrounded by the table getting ready to eat some plant-based food, if everybody would hold hands. Or will we have some type of issue or something like that where somebody don't want to hold the next person's hand?
Black women for everything. No, we can't do that. We have to learn how to read more, Lapeef, before we just regurgitate talking points we've heard across social media. That's important. That's important.
Well, the one good thing that I can say, we're going to end on this note, is that all perspectives are appreciated because that's how we get to resolutions, by hearing each other out. So we got to be willing to listen and being able to debate the point enough where the other person can understand. Maybe you can sway somebody. You never know. Somebody may come off and it could appear to be a talking point, but maybe it's their reality. But nevertheless, there's always the opportunity for us to be able to engage, and the audience appreciates different people. I hate an echo chamber. Whenever I'm putting together panels, I'm hoping to get some different perspectives. So everybody's thoughts and their experiences are welcome. I think it was an excellent show. I think I moderated it pretty well. It didn't get out of hand. We didn't have the bells going off too much tonight. So, this evening, we didn't have too much of that.
If we're talking about reading, make sure y'all go pick up my friend book. I have it here. You say you want to start dating. and it's
Mm.
I spoke to Arthur Sean Jones. You can find it on Amazon because yes, people absolutely should read more. And I'm a book connoisseur. I got a real bookcase here, so y'all go get the book on Amazon. It's affordable.
I thought that was Tommy off of Martin for a second. Then like,
I look like him. It sure look like him.
He's favorite. He a handsome black
like,
man.
you wrote a book?
Start dating by Sean Jones, a black man. We support black business. I always support black business. So
Okay. Miss Nicole, in case you've never been here in a while, we do have an HR department. So we do have a hurt feelings report. So if anybody needs to
hurts. But I will say this about traditional wives, because I really wish people who have not been in traditional relationships really read up on them, because traditional women make concessions more than any other group of women. We come into marriage ready to budget. We come into marriage expecting not to move to the gated community. We make concessions because family is to the forefront. So when people say that we're privileged or we do, they really don't really know what they're talking about. And they probably need to read just a little bit more about traditionalism and about marriage before they start really going in on Black women. I just wanted to say that about being a traditional housewife. I can tell you the women are not expecting to be millionaires. And I tell them, don't expect that, because it's a different kind of lifestyle. So
I just got one thing. Miss Nicole, like, what's one positive thing you can say about Paris tonight? Just having a dialogue today. What's one positive thing you can say?
Passionate.
Yeah, that's a good word. I like her.
Okay. Paris, what's one positive thing you can say about Miss Nicole and Michelle based off the dialogue today?
I love how she comes into the conversation with a direct point to show people and navigate their experiences, and she zones in on her point really well by using analogies.
And I love that you ladies are talking about reading. I love to read as well. Marcus, you had a book that you were putting up. What was that?
So after the Priscilla thing,
hey.
I got gifted. My wife gifted me the book today, so I just started reading.
Oh, damn.
Disagreeing with somebody, Lapeef, don't mean that I can't like them. Like, it's always something that you can learn from everybody. I think that that's the biggest nuance in Black people. We typically disagree, and that centers us in dislike, and it shouldn't, right? We're all here to learn from each other. I can still respect you and disagree with you.
Okay, well, there you have it, though.
I don't disagree with any. I don't dislike anybody. It's just kind of passionate on Black women all the time.
Let's leave it on the good note, man. Let's make sure that we don't keep talking. Sometimes you talk yourself right back into a hole, don't you? All you have to do was say this, and then you just went on ahead and circle back around. Jay, Noah, look. Let me put on some softer music on the close. Yeah, no, let me do something else.
See you next Sunday.
I'm sure Drake could come on this. Rick Ross. All right, y'all. Hit that like button. Also, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all tuning into Lapeef-ing Sundays. Make sure y'all share the stream. It was a good episode. Appreciate you, Marcus, Balance, Hink, Nicole, Harris, Bruiser.
Sayeda. Appreciate all of you guys.
Yeah, everybody, man. Hit the like button, family. Just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. It was a great episode. If you tuning in now, you missed the good one. Catch the replay. Y'all be safe out there. Happy Sunday to all my folks that's out there. Shout out to my green, Dale Matthews, Twizzy. Who else we got in there? Torrance, Moore. Yeah, shout out to all my green gang. Love y'all, man. We out. I want to say thank you guys again. I'm gonna go ahead and run one more track. One more track, man. It's the last track. Hit that like button, family. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to my sponsor again, T Channel Uncomplicated Skincare for Men. 30% off along with a free gift, y'all. It's time to turn up for a little bit, yeah. Happy Sunday. See what these bears do. Happy Sunday, y'all. Last track, family. Last track. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I want to say thank you guys on behalf of the Lapeef Network. Without you guys, would not be where we are today. Y'all make sure y'all share the stream. It was an excellent, excellent show today. Y'all go ahead and share it.